Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 165. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I am Sean Whalen, drnorge on the comics forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. There's a new Batman and Robin, and I'm nothing but glad. Jason Todd is still missing, and the unknown fate of Batgirl makes me sad. Sean promised not to call me Toots this episode, which I don't quite trust. But if he tries it and succeeds, I'll pop him in the head with his Hawkman bust. So said the sensei of the Whatnot segment.
How's it going, eh?
Jim?
Nice. By the way, nice.
This episode's going to be mainly speeding bullets from us because there's a ton of great books out there. And I use the term speeding bullets loosely because I have like 11 pages of notes just on the Batman books. Yeah. But I really wanted to talk about, there's been a lot of new series coming out in the Batman line, and I want to talk about those. What are we enjoying? What do we like about each one? There's a lot to talk about there because a lot's happened in less than a month so far with the Bat universe.
Yeah, this been kind of twist and turned upside down.
And you have some stuff, Superman books.
Some Superman, some Green Lantern, you know.
I have a couple Vertigo titles I'd like to talk about, so we have some interesting things. It'll be a pretty packed episode with some new content. And then next week on 166, we're going to jump right back into Absolute Long Halloween, so...
Or just Long Halloween if you're only
Depending
reading
on how
the
you read.
trade.
Yes, that's right.
But both of us read the Absolute, so we keep calling it Absolute.
Well, that's because every time
Halloween.
I reread it literally before we record, so it's for me it is the Absolute. But Batman the Long Halloween, whichever version you read. I want to remind everyone about the Hero Initiative, heroinitiative.org for more info, and there's a handy-dandy link on ragingbullets.com. Especially in this tough economy right now, it's a great chance for us to give something back to those people that have laid down the foundation. So for more information, definitely go to heroinitiative.org and consider donating. I always say the cost of a comic book, if you haven't. You know, periodically, to throw the cost of a comic book to some of yesterday's creators. You figure if we're all doing that, you know, it's a great chance for, you know, we've got over 1,000 listeners, you know, every episode on the show. So it'd be great to really have all of us kind of pitch in and do that. You know, in general, think of the money just Raging Bullets could generate alone if we all did that. So thanks for everyone who participates in that. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Jim, those Red Circle books are coming, and there's 4 of them. And it's going to be Red Circle Inferno #1, Red Circle Hangman #1, Red Circle the Shield #1, and Red Circle the Web #1. And they're 4 one-shots, and 2 of them are already going to be leading into series. I know the Web and the Shield are going to be picked up as series. These are Straczynski's books, his first books with DC. And they're regularly $2.99 each, 50% off, $149. So it's really, if you're going to get all 4 of them, it's like you're buying 2, getting 2 free. So that's a great reason to go DCB Service on these for those of you that are interested in trying them out.
Which I did do that by
Yeah. But, I mean, that does make a difference when you're doing 4
definitely.
one-shots. Now you're only buying 2 one-shots.
Right.
So, especially with the, like I said, the tough economy, it's a great way for people to save money on their comics. And I want to remind everybody about InStockTrades.com, where you can check out Absolute Superman for tomorrow, or the trade paperbacks. They're supporting us with a discount on both. Our own Life in the Gutters, Mandy, chose these, and I'm really excited because it's from Brian Azzarello, art by Jim Lee and Scott Williams. This is Superman 204 to 215. A cataclysmic event has struck the Earth. Millions of people have vanished without a trace. No one is left unaffected. Not even Superman. Now the Man of Steel must face the mystery of how millions of people vanished without a trace, only to find that he may be responsible. But the solution leads to a royal rumble with Wonder Woman, and after a deadly battle with Equus, Superman comes face to face with the villain who's been responsible for turning his life upside down. The Absolute's regularly $75, 47% off, only $39.75. And the trade paperbacks, Volume 1 and Volume 2, $14.99 regularly, 47% off, only $7.94. So you got 2 great options.
Some great deals there.
Yeah, but I appreciate the fact that they gave us both options for our listeners. If you don't want to go into the Absolute, it's a great way to do this pretty cheap, too, if you go the trade paperback route. So thank you very much to InStockTrades.com and DCBService.com for their continued support of the show. Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, Sean, we are the fuzzy pink bunny slippers of the podcast community. I just wanted to see the look on your face when I said that.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. If you remember back in Black Adam, I said those were his powers.
No, I
So,
knew.
yeah.
I knew we're the fuzzy.
I just wanted to see the look on your face.
You said we were the fuzzy pink bunny slippers of the podcast.
Exactly.
Does that mean we're a little happy, a little
I
cheerful?
don't know. It is what it is.
So you gave me nothing there.
I know. Hey, this is just something I'm throwing off the top of my head. So this is one of those ideas that
I think everyone's clear on that.
One of those ideas that I initially think, that'd probably be a funny thing, probably get some laughs from some people, but it's not as good as I thought it was going to be.
Because it went nowhere.
Exactly. Probably a little planning on my part would help, but we are a spoiler podcast. Wow. We go in depth into plot line, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if you're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
And you'll have a feel-good fuzzy pink bunny slippers moment right afterwards. Wow. Well, Jim, without further ado, I've got a lot of books I really want to talk about. So basically, get out your napkins because I am so Batman happy at the moment that there's going to be a ton of gushing on this show. You guys are going to get so wet from the drool, you'll feel like you're in the front row of a Gallagher concert. Let's jump right to Speeding Bullets.
Hope this craft can withstand this powerful force.
It just was a bizarre line.
I know.
Jim, I want to kick off by talking about Batman and Robin #1. I've been really anxious to talk about the events spinning out of Battle for the Cowl. And this was a much anticipated new series. I felt right at home with this because it felt much like what I enjoyed from this team from All-Star Superman, because it's the same team that was on that great book. It was a cool artifact to see the words boom, boom in the fire as the car was coming through during the initial car chase. It was just a little tiny detail that I really appreciated. I want a flying Batmobile in the worst way. I'm glad the car and the duo felt very fresh right out of the starting gate. We all know that Bruce is going to eventually return, but I really want to get into this new dynamic. Damian's whole cocky, I can be Batman if you can't hack it attitude, yet there is this underlying desire to connect with his father through Dick and the role of Robin that I don't think he's completely willing to admit.
Yeah. Here's an interesting thing with this one and me. When I first read it, I wasn't chomping at the bit.
Really?
I wasn't excited. Now, I don't want anyone to think I disliked it, because I didn't. I thought it was a wonderful story, and I enjoyed reading it, but I didn't put it down and go, oh my God, I can't wait for #2, like I do with a lot of titles.
That's interesting.
I know, and it shocked me. It literally, I was... my jaw hit the ground, and I sat there, and I read this issue probably about 7 or 8 times, just trying to figure out why I wasn't excited about it. Now, every time I read it, I put it down, I said, you know what, I like it, it's good, and I think I may kind of have figured it out.
Really? Okay, good.
Well, maybe. I'm not sure. To me, this seems like we have Nightwing wearing Bruce's costume, not Dick Grayson is Batman. I get that. That's the vibe I get from it, and it's also...
See, I liked that.
See,
No, let me explain.
Okay.
Go ahead. I mean, finish your point, and I'll tell you why I like that.
Okay, it was a like and dislike. I did like the fact that Dick didn't immediately jump in and say, I am Batman, I am the Knight.
That's what I like, okay.
But I also kind of did want him to have a little bit more of the, the bat strut, that style that says, I am Batman, just that kind of, he didn't have as strong a confidence as I wanted him to have. We're going to see in, Gotham streets of Gotham, and in Batman, we're going to see a more confident Dick Grayson putting on the mantle.
But if you take a look even in Batman, and I agree with you in Streets of Gotham, it's a very different than...
Right.
And it is the whole month experience. I agree. You and I are totally in sync on that. It is funny, though, out of the starting gate, I adored this issue. And I'm not saying you're wrong for it, because I agree with your reasons as far as what you didn't, what was kind of off for you, is what I liked.
Yeah.
Because I would have been disappointed if he jumped right into the role and was like, wow, I'm really comfortable. I like seeing him grow into this and trying to establish... I like that this time around, there's a huge difference. When he was previously Batman, when in Prodigal, Batman wasn't dead. Bruce wasn't dead. Bruce was taking a vacation. Nobody knew when he was coming back or anything like that. But there still wasn't... His mentor wasn't dead, so he didn't really have to adopt the role in the way that he has to now. He's working under the assumption he doesn't have the knowledge that we have that this guy's around somewhere, somehow, sometime, which we're going to have to talk about as we get further into this discussion with Red Robin and stuff like that. But I do like that this time around he has to face the fact that he, at least in his mind, is going to be Batman now permanently. So what is that role going to look like long term? And I like that struggle with, I've got to find out what being Batman means for me. So I guess that's why I was gushing over this, was the discomfort had a reason. Like, if that wasn't explained at some point, that, you know, when he has conversations with Alfred, we'll talk about that as we go further into this issue. But that, to me, was the strength of it. If there was no reason for it, I would have been disappointed. I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling that way. I was quite interested in hearing what it was for you. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a different opinion between the two of us. I was just, that was interesting to me.
And I do understand, and I actually did kind of appreciate that they do explain his hesitation. But for me, I was like, when I read, Battle for the Cowl, when I read him going through all that, to me, that was his uncomfortable period. Now, there would still be some hesitation. There would still be some change and some adjustment. But whenever he put on that costume, I wanted to see a little bit more oomph behind it. Yeah, I wanted to see a little bit more.
I think we do when we see him in the costume. It's the moments there's time I didn't feel it. I never really reading it. Damian, I would agree with you when he's talking to Damian.
Right.
But I'm talking about when he actually dealt with villains. I thought he very much was Batman.
When he felt with the frog dude, he's dangling him, but there was still just something when I was reading it, I'm looking at it, I didn't hear the Batman voice. I didn't hear that scary, intimidating, supernatural type essence.
That's because he's not trying to be Bruce. He's trying to be his own Batman, and he's trying to figure out what that is.
See, he should have had a better understanding of who that is, when he's out there in costume. I could see him in the cave having some hesitation, but once he puts on the costume, once he goes to work, there is no hesitation. There is only Batman. They clearly
explain why. It's because he's not ready to deal with the fact that Bruce is gone, and he's trying to come to terms with that. He's also coming to terms with the fact that the cowl is feeling like a shroud to him, and how does he get past that into developing an identity of his own? I think that's the reason why we've seen him move to Wayne Manor. Out of Wayne Manor and move to the Wayne Foundation building, I should say, in the penthouse, and why he's setting up his own version of the Batcave.
And I like that. I really jumped at that, thought that was a good idea, a good plan, change things up.
But I think it's because he's realizing that he's having the issues that you're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
And if you don't have those, there's no reason to do that. So I think why that worked for me on such a huge level, I'm totally agreeing with you. Those are there. I agree with you. But that is the strength of this to me, is because we're seeing him making changes to adapt and compensate for the exact issues that you're talking about. I agree with you. They're all See, that's what I like. And I'm not saying you have to agree.
And it's, because as I'm like, I like it and dislike it. I don't know. There's just something still about this. As I said, I've read this thing like 8 times. Mm-hmm. And every single time I've read it, I've enjoyed what I read, but there was just... there was something missing. I didn't feel like I was reading a Batman story. I can't even put my finger on why exactly. And that's the thing driving me nuts.
I like that because I want to feel like it's somebody different under the cowl. I don't want him to zam, bam, instantly he's Bruce Wayne Batman. I want him to feel unique. I want the journey to feel different. We've read so much storytelling with Bruce Wayne that's been so well developed with what it took for him to become Batman and with the training that he went through to become Batman. I'm not talking about becoming Nightwing or Robin. You got to remember this transition from Robin to Nightwing. For him was a very different transition. We saw a life journey with that. I want to see a journey with him to become Batman. I agree with you that I want to see a convincing Batman out of him as this goes on. And that this journey should lead us to that point. There are some moments this month in the 3 books, and it really is all 3 books that are presenting this in a very different fashion, which I liked because we're seeing him become Batman in a very like the bit we're going to talk about with Scarecrow. When you see him at the end there, very powerful Batman moment.
Yes.
And I think that there is a journey that he's going on this month that I want to see consistently as time goes on. I'm with you. And then I want to see it too, but I think the journey for me is part of what I found so cool this month.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I really don't have a pinpoint thing. This is why it's a more of a feeling, more of an emotional response as I'm reading it.
Let's keep talking about the issue though, because maybe as we keep talking about the issue, I think as we hit certain points, maybe we saw things differently.
There is a point that we definitely saw things differently on, and that's the flying Batmobile.
You didn't like that?
No, I didn't like the flying Batmobile for two reasons.
Okay.
One of the cool strengths of Batman is how he's got the Batcar and how it's more, you can tell he is a man, just a normal thing. The flying car just kind of throws me off.
But do you like things like the Batwing?
Well, that's a plane. There's a difference. That's a jet. I like the difference where if he needs a jet, he's got to go to the Batjet. If he needs a boat, he's got to go to the boat. If he needs a helicopter, he goes to the Batcopter or the motorcycle. But
this isn't that. See, and I think this is where we have a distinct difference too, because I am liking the fact that this is clearly not Bruce Wayne. And that we're clearly dealing with an issue here. This is what Damian brings to the table in this relationship with Dick Grayson. This is not what Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson, Bruce Wayne and Tim Drake looked like. And see, that's where I think we're right. We do veer off here on a very heavy level. Because to me, what does Damian bring to the table other than the fact that Dick Grayson has him in this role because he wants to be a parent figure, he wants to be a mentor figure, he wants to hopefully save him in the way that Bruce, and to some extent maybe Dick, but not, they didn't have that strong relationship, Jason Todd. It's clear he's trying to avoid another Jason Todd in this family. And taking Damian under his wing, he's hoping to be a positive influence. This is his father's natural kid. And he has a chance here in some ways to do something for Bruce besides just being Batman. He's become the head of the Wayne family now, so to speak. And he had to make a very tough decision to put Damian in this spot. And to me, it's great to see that Damian, besides being a pain in the butt at times, does bring something positive to this relationship. And I liked that. And that's where the Batmobile works.
And I would have liked it maybe in 2 or 3 issues. I would have liked to have seen, like, those scenes where Damon is in there working on it, and Alfred, he's like, yes, Pennyworth, just leave the tray, as he's working on it. Mm-hmm. I like those sequences, and I would have rather have seen...
And I liked him calling him Pennyworth.
Yeah, oh, God, yeah. And I would... And even
very
Alfred...
disrespectful and irreverent.
Well, not even disrespectful, just distancing himself. Because you think about it...
It's not distancing himself. He has never connected with Alfred.
Well, he's a servant. Servants are servants. That's it. Nothing more. Right. That's the way he was raised, so naturally he would treat that way towards Alfred. It wasn't insulting, but it wasn't... he's just a servant.
He doesn't understand his role.
He doesn't understand. Yeah, and and even when Alfred's talking about saying how your father always had problems with the gyroscopes with that, I would have liked to have seen it. A couple issues of him working on it, then eventually, bam, like the final issue of this story arc. That's where I would have liked to seen the flying Batmobile. Not just opening with it, because it's more like flash and pop of a new thing for the new team. I would rather see them, and maybe even them working together, for the final product. Maybe having Alfred, getting his knuckles greasy with Damian to get that thing working. Something like that.
Morrison said in repeated interviews, and one of the reasons why he didn't want to do the Battle for the Cowl story himself, why he likes to jump in when things are already established, and in his mind right now. This is something that's been established in this relationship. In Battle for the Cowl, we saw how Dick Grayson made the choice to become Batman. But see, he made the choice to become Batman, but we still didn't see him in Battle for the Cowl develop his Batman. And I think we're seeing that now. He's established that, okay, I'm going to take on this costume, I'm going to do this, but he hasn't, and see, that it's a journey that we're still going on. See, I didn't take Battle for the Cowl as Dick Grayson now is comfortable being Batman. He's comfortable that he needs to be Batman. And that nobody else should be, and that he needs to carry out this legacy, but he doesn't know what it looks like yet. And I like that, because it took, how many stories have we read with Bruce Wayne with that kind of thing? I want to see more of that. We'll just have to agree to disagree on the car thing. I liked the car. And the funny part is, I don't know if I'd like it as much with Bruce driving it.
I definitely wouldn't have liked it with Bruce driving it.
Yeah.
I can deal with... Dick Grayson driving it, because even he has that line where you have no idea how cool this would have been when I was Robin. He still has a little bit of that Robin in him.
And I like that,
You know what? I didn't have an issue with that. But it was just like, I don't know. I still would have rather have seen that later in the series, not opening up with the flying Batmobile.
Yeah,
That's
I guess that wasn't something to me that.
Yeah. And to be honest with you,
think
by the next issue,
yeah.
I won't really have... it's not like I'm sitting there saying, oh my God, that's terrible. I'm not. I understand why they did it, and the fact that, as you said, how it's what Damian brings to the table.
And
so
that establishes that right out of the starting.
That's why I'm okay with it, but I did initially... when I first read it, I was like, oh, God.
It also gives him a reason to be cocky, because you got to remember, I mean, unless you have things like that, it's really like, at what point, why would you have Damian in the Batmobile even? This shows that the kid is already bringing positive things to the relationship, even though he's a handful.
Yeah, even though he's difficult.
And I did like this month that we can say that, but we still, and we'll have to talk about it as we go through, we did see a lot of positive Damian moments in all of this mess, which I really liked. Like, he's brash in the way that he's disrespectful in the way he talks to Dick and to Alfred and stuff like that, but... yet he is trying to be a hero.
Yeah, he's trying to do the right thing, and he's you can see he is trying to honor his father and the legacy that is Bruce Wayne. So I do like that, but he's still, he's covering himself. He's keeping distance. He's like, you have to earn my respect.
And he is listening to everything, even though he isn't obeying everything.
Right.
Because that was shown when, Dick slipped up and called him Damian in the Batmobile. Remember, you told me not to do...
no real names.
Yeah, when we're in the cowl and stuff like that. I mean, that was... I liked that. The sequence with Mr. Toad, where it seems like he wants to die, when they shot the missiles... I mean, you could see him there. His eyes almost got bright. It was like did you get the impression that he wanted to die there, or he was willing to die there, or what was...
I don't know if it was wanted to die as more of willing to die so he doesn't double-cross, the circus master.
Pig. This pig is very intimidating.
You're dealing with villains who would say, okay, I'd rather be dead. You have nothing. You cannot scare me. There's nothing you can do to me that'll be close to what he would do. And I kind of like that with a villain leadership. Now, as we get to know Pig, I do want to know why people are willing to work with him. Because that's something I always question when you have these psychotic villains that you're like, why the heck would you deal with them? Why would you even be a part of their gang? You're going to die a horrific death if you sneeze at the wrong time. So I want to see what's going on with this pig.
There's a great story for that, though. That's where the Joker hardcover by Azzarello is a great example of why people would get together with these psychotics. I don't know, and I agree with you. I would like to see more of that here as well. I would like to see that motivation. Because I liked that so much about the Joker hardcover, because I don't think that's ever been explored the way it was by Azzarello in that hardcover. So I like to see more of that explanation. I agree. And I do think that that's something that will eventually be... I hope that's something that will eventually be touched on. And I don't know that I necessarily need it, because the Joker hardcover kind of started to establish that. But I would like to see... because Pig is really... turning people into dolls and stuff like that. We'll have to talk about that. See, this is the part where... and I think this is where we veer off. I like the bits where when Dick's in the vehicle or when he's with Alfred, you see that he's not as sure of what his Batman is yet. But like the dynamic duo punch as he came out of the... When we see him with villains, I did feel like he was acting the Batman role. And like that punch between the two of them, and let's wrap the guy up, and and there's no way I'm touching that. From Damian, those bits felt very natural, very, very this version of Batman and Robin. I did feel him in a confident role there. I went to totallytoads.com because based on Damian's reaction, can you get warts from toads? Now, Jim, based on your years of licking and hugging toads, I thought you would be glad to know that is an old wives' tale.
I knew that all along.
Now, I dug further into the site, and there's no references to giant men-sized evil toads. So I have no idea whether or not. But there actually is a site called totallytoads.com that has all kinds of information about toads and warts.
Well, that's good to know. And there's some toads out there where if you lick them, you can get high.
Really?
Yeah, like they body secretes like oils or something like that. Actually, it's like a psychedelic drug that you can seriously
I was kidding about you licking toads.
I'm being serious here. This is a little unknown fact for you. I'm not exactly sure what the name of the
Is it
toad
an unknown
is.
fact about you or about the toads?
About the toads. Yeah, I've never licked a toad. Yeah, huh, really. But no, I don't know the name of the toad. So if anybody knows the names, you can send it our way.
Dick still uses his mentor's intimidating tactics, and it was great to see the enhanced development of Pig in this arc, because he's hanging him upside down. Toad has no idea that he's really close to the ground, but Toad is not going to speak. It shows us that he's more scared of Pig than anything Batman could do to him. And I did like seeing Dick use the flying, hovering Batmobile to his advantage here as a tool. Now, in the picture of Dick and Bruce, was that Ace the Bat Hound? Because it looked like the original me. Is that how you took that?
That's how I took it as well. Yeah.
It's funny how Dick never aspired to assume the role of his mentor because he didn't want to accept his eventual death. Nightwing meant that he wouldn't have to take over the role. None of us wants to accept the mortality of our own parents, and if we respect them on any level, and I liked that. That felt very human to me. And it's great that he and Alfred connect over these moments. We'll have to talk more in Batman because this is even developed further. I loved seeing this relationship the way we saw it with Bruce. In many ways, it's therapeutic, Alfred and Dick, in this for both of them.
Yeah.
They're drawing strength to move on from each other. And I do like how right in this issue, and it's when we talk about it, Mandy in Life in the Gutter made mention that she thought the Batman issue should have come out before this one. And I actually agree with that. Release-wise, this is a great issue, but I liked some of the development in Batman makes sense chronologically before this. And I am taking it that does take place prior to this.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I got to say, I did also like that. You know, when I say that I wanted a more, hoorah, confident Batman, it wasn't, stuff like that. I thought that was a very human moment, a very realistic moment that, was something I was eating up on this. I wanted to see things like that where you see Alfred and, Dick just, they need each other's strength. They help each other. It's, it's that same type of relationship, that father-son, mentor, student, friend, relationship that we see.
That was stuff that was very powerful.
Very powerful.
That I really liked.
I liked that. I ate that up in the issue.
And I think I like that development so much. That was another reason that I was just, I can't wait for more. There was nice consistency with the gravesite, and this is one of those where I felt like an idiot, because it has the same look as what we saw in Blackest Night. Next to his family's grave, we've got that one. It's important, though, because like an idiot, this is the first time I noticed that his grave is unmarked. I don't know why I never noticed that. I guess I never paid attention to that part because I knew it was Bruce's grave, and I guess I never just looked for any kind of markings on it other than that was clearly Bruce's grave. It's complete. Did you notice from the get-go that it was unmarked?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. I never noticed that.
You were just looking to see if it had your name there.
I was looking. That would be great. Where is it? Yeah. I had the Migo Wayne Foundation playset as a kid, so it's great to see the 70s penthouse being brought back into use. It makes sense that Dick would need this change of venue. Like I said earlier, it's in order to be an effective Batman, he would need to make the role his own. And it makes so much sense to me. This is life-changing for Dick. He's dealing with the loss of Bruce and moving on. And I do like that in this world there's a sharp contrast in how Bruce's sons are dealing with this. And we're going to talk about all of the books that have been released, Red Robin included. And it really is very interesting that all of these sons, including Jason Todd, including Damian, have dealt with this very differently. The tiny details of the underground Batcave work for me, from the train that Bruce used as a high-speed way to get from place to place, and I believe that Harold helped him with that back in the day.
Yeah.
To the different level structuring. I used to geek out at these cross-sections as a kid in comics. Did you remember having read anything like this?
Yeah.
And it was great to see these again. What did you think, Damian, the way... Now, I took Damian as being disrespectful. Did you really take it that he just doesn't understand the importance of his role?
I think he just does not understand the importance of Alfred. It's as I said, he's a servant. A servant is a servant. That's the way Damian grew up with the Assassins Guild, where all those people were, "Oh, mighty lord and master," bowing and all that. So that's all.
See, I like that even more then.
He sees it, and I think as time will tell, he will learn that Alfred's more than that. But the initial stuff is, him calling him Pennyworth. In a way, that's actually probably Damien's actually probably showing him respect by calling him a name instead of calling him butler. Right. Instead of saying butler, servant, do this. He's calling him by a name, so he's acknowledging that he's actually a living creature. So I think that is a step up and a huge sign of respect.
Do you like Damien right now as Robin?
Yes. Okay. I do like Damien as Robin. I like why they gave why Dick gave him the title and had him doing this. The whole, doing right by Bruce's kid and, making sure there's not another Jason Todd. Completely agree with you. That's his rationale and his mental behind it. I like that story, and I like how they flesh it out also in Batman. And we see a bit of the story in Red Robin. I like how all the stories are still tying to
very
that
consistent.
Theme. Yeah,
great job with editorial and with the writers.
Very good
and everybody.
there. I really did dig that.
I need an Alfred as a chicken jalapeno sandwich. Sounds really good to me. Because I love spicy food. And it's not every day that chicken brings tears to grown men's eyes. But Carl's Jr. actually has, and I've been to one of these in California, and I've never had one, the new jalapeno chicken sandwich.
Really?
Yeah, so anybody who's been there, I don't know if they have them anywhere else, but they have the signature Santa sauce and pepper jack cheese. So, you can actually, for those of you that are in the California area or anybody that has a Carl's Jr. near you, you can relive Dick Grayson's experience. I looked. I'm like, how do I make one of these?
All right.
I'm ill. That tells you how important the Batman world is to me. I'm like, well, geez, I'd like to make one of those. What are they like?
I didn't even know. I read the thing 8 times and I didn't even notice. Okay.
Crime is doomed. That was a great Damien line because he was cocky and he's totally a cocky little turd. Basically trying to take over the role at that point. But I love when Dick tells him to get into the car and they get going. He does snap into the role, and you'd have to think if you're behind, the mask and all that stuff, tell me you wouldn't say something like that. That was a great real line and all that. Mr. Toad has friends you wouldn't believe. Well-crafted sequence. We get a glimpse of the strange girls coming out of the ghost house, and the guy in the car with the flaming face, plus the other oddities that were driving in that vehicle with him. I've always liked carnivals and carnival characters, but there is something very creepy when you turn them into villains. Joker's a great example of this, and he's surrounded himself usually with carnival-style creatures. This is a creepy-looking group.
And especially it is good. Here's one other thing I'm going to kind of complain and not complain about.
Okay.
On one hand, part of me I do want to see Dick Grayson as Batman going up against a classic Bat villain. I do want to see that.
I agree.
But I also kind of like the fact that this first villain they're going up against is more of his style. It's more of a carnival circus. He's a circus kid. He grew up and raised as one of the Flying Graysons. So this is more of his style of villain. So I kind of like that. And I was like, so it was one of those things where, when I first started thinking about it, I'm like, that's cool that they're doing this. They're building a whole new villain side. And then on the other side of me, the back of my head is nagging going, should he, though, should his first villain been a classic Bat villain, like him against Two-Face? Because Dick Grayson has a long history with Two-Face as well. Maybe that would have been a good, first villain. And I'm like, so I do go back and forth between this. One, it's, I don't know. And it's one of those things where it could be a final twist or turn either way for me. If we only see new villains, if we only see, villains that have been twisted, a Dick Grayson spin, then I will dislike this. But if we see him going up against the classics, then I'm going to be, okay, he's still Batman.
What if Batman and Robin sticks to all new material, though? All new villains, I should say, and Batman has some of the classics? Because we already saw in Batman a classic villain right there.
Right.
So does Batman and Robin have to do that if the other books are? Because remember, we've got right now 2 other Batman titles where Batman is one of the lead characters. Streets of Gotham, I'm assuming, is going to be a Batman focus, like from the street level that they were talking about.
Right.
So, that book clearly from the way it was set up. I guess it was funny when that was first announced. When we were at the convention, it was Streets of Gotham. I didn't realize it was going to be another Batman title. So we got 3 with Dick Grayson's Batman right now.
Yeah, I took that as more of a the Gotham Central type story where it's the street level and you get the street level view of Batman. So you're going to have the appearance of him, but you're not going to have the full story action.
That wasn't the story that when you took a look at what was actually in the pages of Streets of Gotham. Right. There's a lot more Batman in there than I ever realized. So I do think we're going to be getting more of him in that book than I think we were originally under the assumption.
And to answer your question before, no, I do want to see Batman and Robin go up against some classic villains. Because I want to see Damian deal with Two-Face. Okay. I want to see Damian go up against the Joker. Okay. That's the fight
especially because this book is going to be more
for.
focused on them as a team.
Yeah, and also just, Damian, I want to see if the Joker can take him. Yeah, it's a sick thing to say, but we saw Joker go up against Tim.
I can't see Morrison not doing that.
Yeah, so I want to see that. I really want to see Damian versus the Joker. Have Joker think he's got this cocky attitude. I already killed one of these guys. I can probably get this one, and then Damian just open up on him because Damian's an assassin. Just to see the Joker go, okay, this is a different Robin. I got to play different with this one. And see the Joker twist his style. Joker change up, and we can see that the Joker isn't just this insane villain, but he is a manipulative. He is a thinker. So if he can recognize this is a completely different Robin, I got to change my style. And we see a nastiness out of Joker that we've never seen because of a nastiness from Robin. These are the things that are going through my head that I want to see with Damian.
Don't you think Morrison's doing what you're asking for, though, in the sense that he's getting to establish a more confident Batman and Robin team before he does that? Well, I see him definitely doing that.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. As I said, I teeter-totter both ways. In one way, I did like the fact that this is a new villain, but after this story arc, I'd like to see maybe Batman and Robin go up against an established villain.
Sure.
Or I could even go with 2 or 3 story arcs, but eventually I do want to see them go up against these guys because it's going to be a different fight. Not only a different Batman, a different Robin.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we're not going to get that? Because I don't know. I was throwing out the question that would you be okay if they avoided that in this book? And I agree with you. If this is going to be the title focusing on the team up, I would like to see that eventually. I can't imagine Morrison avoiding that because he didn't in his run previously.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he will avoid it. So I think we'll get it. But it's just one of those things where I want to see this. And so as I say, I'm not excited and anticipating issue 2. I'm sitting there saying stuff I want to see. So I am excited, but I'm not. I'm
going to keep talking because I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm so excited to see issue 2 because this one really grabbed me. When we see Nico and Lev, they were going to get out of town, but Pig caught them first. Pig sees these zombies, these dolls that he's making as perfection. There is a film called People. It's published by Disney. Now, it's not a horror film or anything. That's actually a family-friendly film. It's a cool movie showing a grandfather and a granddaughter on a cultural journey. Well, there's this one sequence, though, where they go to this creepy place, and it's an animated film, but in this sequence it switches to a claymation film, where everyone looks the same way, they dress in the exact same outfits, they wear the exact same hats, and there's no variation at all, and this world is called Perfect. It creeped me out. It's like one of the freakiest... It's funny, when I actually use this movie with my students when we talk about different cultures, because it does show why diversity... And kids nowadays need to especially learn why diversity, difference in religion, different in cultural background. Because I've got kids of all different religions in my classroom, and we don't focus heavily on religion as far as religion instruction, but we do talk about religions in the sense that we're appreciating and respecting the fact that there are different religions, even with our own classroom. It is a funny video to use for that, and when I saw that, it's actually, every time I see it, the claymation sequence freaks me out, and this so totally took me there, because you see this uniformity that when these people turn into dolls, I'm convinced some of those dolls that look the same are girls, and some of them are guys, when before I thought they were all little girls. I don't think they're all girls. The dolls that were in there with them? Because I think this guy, if you take a look at his face as it's molding, he looks just like them.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I took it as they were all, but maybe not.
Yeah, so I guess now, when I saw him, I'm convinced that what Pig's process... what he does to them with the saws and with everything, he manipulates them in such a way that they all look alike. We'll see, I guess, in issue 2 if we get to see further.
Yeah, that is a little bit of the creepiness behind it, and I kind of want to see what the heck's going on there, but it was a little the circus type, clown type stuff do freak me out. So
And I
anything
like
like
that,
that is,
yeah.
so yeah.
Sometimes what we don't see is creepier than what we do, and this is where this really worked for me, the way this issue wrapped up. For example, the look on the daughter's face tells us so much more than what we would have actually seen, because we saw the setup with the saw going in,
Yeah.
but we don't actually see any of that happening. We just see her get more and more horrified. Like, if Pig did nothing to her, now we know I'm convinced that
Yeah, he didn't
she's
do-
one of the dolls.
Now, yeah.
If we don't see it next issue, I'm just convinced that it happened. But regardless of that, and I do think that there's a certain point where Morrison's just going to leave those things and move on, because we've already in our mind established what happened there. But that's one of those things that I thought was really masterful about this. At the end, we were left with a very terrifying sequence that established for me a villain that I want to see more of. I was glad that Pig was saved for the end, and that we got to learn about Pig from Toad early on. That's where the pacing of this worked for me really well. I think we learned more about Pig through Toad, and then that horrifying sequence in the end than we'd have learned if Pig was in the car in the beginning, for example, and doing terrible things in Gotham. That was a great way of crafting this and a great lead-in. I also liked at the end that we got to see that cool sequence with Damian getting a good beating by the dolls, Batman going to toe-to-toe with a large number of thugs who may have been dolls or may have been thugs associated with Pig.
I took it as they were, the dolls.
Yeah, that's how I was taking that too. I liked the bit with Alfred, and we kind of glossed over this, Alfred and Dick talking about the dominoes being bones. Because, do you know why they're labeled bones? Dominoes were either made out of animal bones or ivory.
Oh, okay.
Originally. Nowadays we get them
They're plastic,
and
yeah.
this over there. But the ivory ones are actually illegal to make now. So before a certain date, they're illegal to sell. I'm sorry, after a certain date, they're illegal to sell. It was, I think it was 89 or something like that. Anything before that, you can sell them legally, which means they're probably at a premium price. But after that, it's illegal.
Wow.
It's
I did not know that.
Poaching. Yeah, it was kind of a cool thing I looked up. So those things that Alfred was saying were smacking down the bones. It's a part of the game. That's smacking down the dominoes as the opening move of the game. And I liked how they did that little reference. I actually looked it up because I like when writers take the time to research those little bits. And I guess I was wondering, were those made from ivory? Or perhaps human bones, or what was the deal?
I'm going to say human bones.
Yeah, I'm wondering. It was kind of interesting. I'm curious to see if the dominoes, because that was one of the pictures, was a bloody domino
Yeah.
at the end. So I'm wondering what the significance was of that.
And then there's the scene where it shows the R on the ground and Damian walking away. Does he quit?
Yeah,
Yeah, so who knows?
I don't know. It was a really interesting first issue. I liked it because it set up a real anticipation for me with where they're going to go with this. So you and I had a very different experience with this one, which is, that's great. It actually made for an interesting discussion. I really enjoyed talking about this one.
I wanted to go into World of New Krypton 4, and I tell you, one of the things you're gushing about the Superman stuff, the Batman stuff. I'm gushing about the Superman stuff,
And I am too.
And I know you are, but it's that same excitement and energy you had when we were talking about Batman and Robin. I have that same excitement over World of New Krypton, over all the Superman titles, and one of the reasons I'm getting it is we no longer have Superman on Earth, but the Action and Superman titles still have a Superman presence. Plus, we still are getting Superman stories in World of New K. So I'm getting everything that I want. I am getting my Superman, but I'm getting him in a new, different type of venue. I'm getting him in a new, different type of problems that he's got to deal with. But we still are seeing the same Kal-El. We're still seeing the same guy.
Touching on that too, though, I like that the events that are happening on New Krypton are influencing Earth, and vice versa. The intrigue that's going on Earth is influencing that. So these really are connected stories. So I like that. I really like that the writers have taken the time to do that. Even though these books can be read independently, which they can, you get something so much more if you read it
You're getting
together.
so much more out of it if you're getting all the titles, and and I like that the release schedules are coming out, so they are. You don't have to worry about which order you're reading them in. So far, we haven't had any crisscrosses or anything like that, so I was very happy.
There is one coming. I think it's August Is that what the one? Remember we talked about it at the previews. There was, I think it's August when they're going to be crisscrossing. Which, I mean, I like that they do it too, though, because obviously that's going to be Superman world changing when that hits, and they're saving those story elements for when it is world changing. It's a great story, and I do like that General Lane, like whenever he appears, because he's appearing in seemingly all the titles, that whenever he appears, they reference things that happened in the other appearances that he's been in. These writers are really, and the editors, everybody who's working on Superman right now is doing a great job of keeping things feeling very cohesive.
Yeah, this is definitely, it does feel like one giant story, and I'm really excited about that. But you mentioned General Lane, but, just, the villains overall, and I do consider General Lane a major villain, have just been wonderful, especially in World of New K with Zod. I tell you, I love Zod stories. These are just amazing. I put him now on a level, dare I say it, with Lex Luthor as one of, if not the greatest villains of all times. You see him just play the game, manipulate, his surroundings to his advantage. It's, I ate it up. I see the general aspect in him. I see the military strategy, the planning, and just, he wants to, conquer the universe, probably, but he's not stupid enough that he's going to boast his, plans. I'm going to take over the world. No. He is a servant of New Krypton and servant of New Krypton only. And I love how he's doing this.
Do you feel, and see, I think Lex Luthor's a great comparison, because I do feel that even if the Kryptonians find what he's doing wrong when they eventually see the whole picture of what he's doing, that he really does feel that what he's doing is for the benefit of Krypton as well. I think he really does feel he's being a very good military leader. Kind of in the way like General Lane, Luthor, they get a little fanatical, a little crazy, but they do feel deep down that they're right and that they are doing something noble for their people in their own way.
Yes, and a little bit of no.
Okay.
I do see a little bit of, I see this more in Zod than I do in Luthor.
Okay.
Actually, I see it also in Luthor as well. It's the conqueror. There is that conqueror mentality in General Zod, and there is that conqueror mentality in Lex. And it's, you can say that he's just trying to conquer them to provide them with the perfect leadership, or he is just conqueror so he can say, look what I have. That's the big question. What is his motivation behind conquering? Is it to say, I have conquered, or is it, has he said, I am conquered because I am going to help you? What is his motivation?
Well, I think he ideally knows what the world should be. You're right, though. He is. I would say, I don't want to say that he is Lex Luthor. I'm not saying that. I said I'm seeing elements there, and I do want to clarify that. I'm seeing elements.
You're seeing elements?
I'm seeing all kinds of crazy things when we do this show, but no, I see elements of the two that bleed over, where you can see some similarities. But you're right. Zod would take it to another level where, subjugation to him is, in his way, he believes that he knows what's the best for the world, but also his ultimate goal is to be the ultimate ruler where everybody just listens to him.
It's no question, no doubt.
But I think it's because he thinks he really is superior to everybody else.
Yeah, yes, I definitely think he thinks that, and in a way, I think he thinks he could be the best leader for them, because your great military leaders do have to have that confidence. They have to have that arrogance to them that they can do no wrong, because when you are in command of so many people, you have to say, do this. No, should we do this or should we? No, it's got to be boom. You have to have that take command attitude, that attitude, if you want to, cockiness, whatever, confidence, however you want to word it, you have to have that. But there is a line that, he can very easily cross. Did you ever see...
I got a great example of what I'm talking about, but after go ahead and do yours, and then I got something I want to...
Apocalypse Now.
Okay.
Colonel Kurtz.
Yes,
great, thing where he went native. He completely went there. He saw himself beyond, when he first started, going rogue, he was killing off various government officials, various individuals, and you were seeing a drop-off of Viet Cong activity. And they're like, he killed the right people. But then he went that one step further, where he started thinking he was beyond man, where he started really kind of just like, executing people for the for the fun of it or for the whatnot, if you want to call it, whatever you want to say. He crossed that line that
He
goes
still
beyond
thought it was
that.
right, though.
But near the end there, he was executing people not just for...
Yeah.
He had that psychoticness. Now,
Yeah.
I can see Zod go into that psychoticness.
We've seen Luther go there.
We've seen Luther go there?
Absolutely. Reread Superman. Have you read all of Superman Batman?
No.
Okay. There's a story specifically in Superman Batman where they took him down.
Oh, okay.
That have dealt with that, where he snapped, and now he snapped back. But we've seen Zod go there, so I agree with you.
So yes,
I agree with you.
That for me is
But
the difference.
Here's a point though where I see Zod as being a good military leader. There were points in this we've already seen established in the world of New Krypton where he's listened and let Kal-El handle something his way and accepted it, and I think he was quite happy with the end result. Whereas I think if he was totally on that other spectrum,
Right.
he wouldn't have accepted that
Yeah,
because
exactly.
he wouldn't want Kal-El to have any positive moments under there. He would look at what allowing Kal-El to do that and the end result being his good leadership at recognizing how to best utilize his people, and at that point in time, that being Kal-El.
Right.
I liked that.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying he's not there yet, but he has the potential to go there.
Agreed.
So that's
Agreed.
the thing. Now, one of the things I thought when we had the 3 Green Lanterns show up, once
Right.
again, it shows how awesome Zod is. You know, he shows up, they're like, we have 3 Green Lanterns, one of which has the power of ion, so they came with some serious firepower on a fact-finding mission. And what Zod answered? We have no secrets. Look around. You know, I don't care. We're doing nothing wrong here. And I love that he had that attitude. And then even the casual remark he made to Hal. I remember you. You fought fiercely against us with bravery and passion. Just very calm and just, oh yeah, I remember you. We still kicked your ass, didn't we? You know, it was that, I love that. That was just such a nice, it was a compliment. That was the, backhanded compliment.
But I also
it was,
believe there was genuine military respect there as well. I agree with you with it being backhanded, but I do think that Zod, as a good military leader, does evaluate his enemies based on their military strategy and the way they handle themselves.
Yeah.
And he can look at Hal and say, this is somebody, when we meet again, you be rest assured, I'm going to remember that you are somebody dangerous and that I need to be careful with you. And you better believe that next time around.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like that. I liked that.
And it's all.
So I do think there was respect there.
Oh, definitely. There definitely was respect there, but there was a little bit of an insult,
Sure.
a little bit of a pushing the buttons.
There was a lot of pushing the buttons going on.
Yeah, just seeing how much can we get away with here. Let's test the waters here. Let's try a little, flame the emotions here a little bit, seeing what we can get. It's a great political move, but also a great military move, just to see what exactly you can get away with. Anytime military boundaries are set, whether in any type of peacekeeping, venture with the war, both sides always test the limit. They'll send maybe a patrol. Oops, our planes flew over your airspace, but we pulled them back. They didn't realize what they're doing. It's just, you get that little political cat and mouse game you play with, and we're seeing that right here. I like that. I enjoy that, just seeing that other side of this.
The concepts of jurisdiction and extradition. There's no relationship with the Guardians or the Green Lantern Corps. They have no rights there.
Oh, yeah.
That they were allowed to be there as a courtesy.
Yeah.
I really liked that. The politics of this and how they're being handled, they don't waste any opportunities with this book. And that's really important to me. It's one of the reasons why I think, wow, they were so right to do this, because it's a very interesting story. And I'm with you. It's funny. I talk about how much I'm gushing. I am more of a Batman guy. I'm finding the Superman books.
I know.
This month of Batman for me has been breathtaking and staggering. Superman books, I can say the same thing. I've got Wonder Woman. I want to talk. We're going to talk about the whole Trinity.
A lot of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean it's the Trinity. All of their books right now are incredibly interesting, and it was funny. There was so much more that I wanted to talk about this episode that I had to. Time-wise, I wasn't able to get to all of it. There's going to be more that's going to be carrying over on our next couple episodes.
Yeah.
Books that I want to chat about that I couldn't get to, but it's because of this. The quality right now is so high.
Now, Cal's labor guild friend,
I
Tyre
love
Van.
that.
I love this guy. Not only is it just, I liked how they used him to, talk about New Krypton. I liked how he was, just showing a whole nother side of New K, showing it as the melting pot. The comparison to Cleveland was just really spot on, and I have to say that was just an outstanding, great way of tying it into the real world. That I loved it, dude. But I'm also digging the fact that the more they use this guy, the more we like him, the brighter his red shirt is.
Oh, yeah.
This dude is toast, man. And I hate to laugh about the upcoming death of a character that I am actually enjoying, but when he goes, it's going to be epic, it's going to be heroic, and it is going to really just P.O. Cal, and we are going to see Kal-El versus Zod.
I don't think just Cal. I think also Allura.
Oh, yeah.
And I think also this is going to be the major, because she's already listening. But there's going to be something that's going to be the breaking point, and I'm with you. I think it's this red shirt.
Oh, yeah. And his lieutenant, too. I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
She, is also going to be, she's starting to see things the way Cal says.
Well, she's starting to. The end of this issue is a great example of already that the two of them are in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a minute, because there's some stuff I want to talk about.
No, I know. I'm just saying. But, that's,
now also with Sodom Yacht being there, with Ion being there, I love the look on his face when Cal mentions that Mon-El is on Earth, and even later throughout the issue, he's like, "Well, you mean there's another on Earth?" You just kind of got that. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Kind of curiousness. And as this is going on with that, really cool fight sequences when they're trying to get the, was it Val Ty? Yeah, Val Ty, the escaped villain, the Phantom Zoner that's been on the loose. Just that whole action sequence. That's another cool thing about, it's been a consistent thing with New K. You have a little bit of story, you have a little bit of advancement of the Kal-El versus Zod story, but you also have a really cool action sequence. And this one has a nice villain who's, one, very comfortable with his powers. One, because he was part of Zod's assault team on Earth. And when Cal brings that up, he's like, well, it doesn't matter why he's comfortable with his powers. He's more comfortable with his powers. Be on guard for this. And I liked, just once again, a little bit more fanning the flames between the two of them, the anger and whatnot between Cal and Zod, but also just, remembering the characters they've used in the past and bringing them back. They keep, they said, in New York and a lot of other, the panels where they're talking about how all of these things they've talked about in the past leading up to this are going to come back. Atlas is going to come. Yeah, Atlas is going to come back.
He's already been.
He's already been back. We've already seen him, but there's going to be more stories behind him.
Yeah, well, Atlas, they're building him too huge, because what they're doing with Atlas, with his secret identity being shown on, where not his secret identity. Well, he is developing.
He's developing a secret identity.
Developing a secret identity to try and get to know things. We're seeing him. We saw him with Bibbo, and we'll talk. We're kind of jumping off of this book, but these are characters who are. You're right. Everybody's important. I will say one other thing I liked. Hal and Clark's interactions on New Krypton were brilliant, because I really felt like it was clear, and I felt like we were a part of it. He was trying to clue Hal in without revealing himself.
Yeah.
And it was subtle things that he was doing to let Hal know, I'm here for a reason. I'm doing this for a reason. I'm not a moron. I know what I'm dealing with. You gotta trust me. But he was trying to let him know with a wink, wink, and a nod.
Well, he's on a planet where his arch enemy can hear every single thing he says, and that's the thing. And I like that about they've always had that throughout this series. And like with when they're first going up against the capture the escaped villain, they put Clark's team on the background. You're undisciplined. Translation.
I don't trust you.
I don't trust you. You don't blindly follow my orders. But also, when you look at how this ends, that was a setup by Zod.
Yes.
He knew if I put him in support position, there's no way he's going to stay in support position. I need him to directly disobey orders. And he's setting him up. And that's when I talk about just the brilliance of Zod setting up Cal. Because that is just a really cool stuff going on there. There's just, dude, man, I always say, strong villains make the heroes stronger. And you have, this is Superman's equal. This is his rival. This is the one creature who I really think could kill him. who I think could give him a run for his money, both mentally, physically. So I'm eating this stuff
But
up.
yet it drives Zod nuts, because Zod believes that too, yet he hasn't been able to.
Right. Yeah.
And I love that eats at him. We see that more in the annual.
Yeah. He's got 2 losses.
Yeah.
Brainiac and Clark. Those are the only 2 losses he's got on his record, and that's got to eat the guy up. And he wants to get that win over Kal-El. He's got to get the win over the House of El. If nothing else, it's his dad. Jor-El took him down. So it's. There is that, going on. There is that ego that is, I am Zod. I cannot have 2 losses. 2 losses against these people. Come on.
I love how well we're getting to know the Kryptonian culture throughout all of this. Not just in this book. Action Comics is developing it more. Action Comics Annual really delved heavily into it. These are just really interesting stories that are giving us just a better understanding of not just Clark and his supporting cast, but of this culture that he came from. And in many ways, we're understanding Kara a bit more because of it, and in what world she came from. This has really just been, for me, just wow.
Yeah. The final sequencing was just wonderful. Because, one, you have that cool part where Clark's telling everybody how to find the guy. Because they're like, listen for him. Just hear the sound of him passing through the wind. They weren't listening for the guy, but they were listening for the sound he was making as he was whooshing through the air.
Yeah.
And, Sodom, it's like, I got it. He can pick it up, and all the Kryptonians picked it up, and they moved on it. And of course, they were going to win. But throughout that, what happens? Zod plants the final seed that he needs. He gives the lieutenant the order, the kill order. We're not arresting him. Kill the criminal on capture. And what's Clark do? Because Clark is Clark. He's like, belay that order. And as soon as I read that, I'm like, bingo, we got it. Because in the end, you get, of course, the villains captured. Great moment between Zod and the Green Lantern Corps, as the Corps wanted him, because the guys wanted an and Zod's like, no, you do not have jurisdiction here. When we're done with him, we will turn him over to you. And you see Hal wanting to pump it. Hal wants to fight, but John Stewart, once again, great usage of the people, because Stewart is a little bit more calmer. He's a little bit more intelligent. He's like, hey, we got to back this off. We can't have a diplomatic incident here. We got to go right now. And I ate that up. That was just, we're talking about political intrigue. Then, of course, as, Kal-El and the lieutenant show up, to view the prisoner, they see, wow, Zod kept his word. Zod didn't kill him. Zod's got him contained. What's going on here? And Zod's like, yeah, you'll be surprised. I surprise you a lot of times, especially now. You're under arrest for treason. Chung, chung. Him and the lieutenant under arrest for treason. And I was like, yes. And especially when the lieutenant got arrested.
Which is what ultimately Zod wanted.
Yeah. And now I started thinking about the whole treason charges and everything, and I have to apply human military logic to this. Now, the lieutenant can probably get off. She's probably going to be okay because, if you're in a situation where you're in a military combat situation and you receive a general from offhand, but you receive an order from a lieutenant on field, the field commander does have the final say, because they say that that lieutenant has the forefront knowledge that the superior officer may not have. So in those circumstances, a lieutenant can't override a higher ranking officer because he is the field commander. Plus, on the other side is the whole killing aspect. Once you cross over, the Geneva Convention or the standard military U.S. conduct, you can override your superiors in the lineup is saying it's an immoral law. So the lieutenant can say she was going off the field commander. You would need that field commander to step up and take the heat, which we know Kal-El will do. So I see the lieutenant getting off with probably, she'll lose her commission, maybe possibly her position. I'm not exactly sure how Kryptonian law is going to handle it. They may torture her and kill her. I don't know. I'm not sure about Kryptonian law, but I think we're going to see her get off, especially because we're going to see Clark step up and say, hey, I'm guilty of treason. I told her to go against directly the general's order. And that's part of the reason why Zod is arresting both of them.
Well, but here, that's exactly why Zod's arresting both of them. But here's the irony of the whole thing. He's got Clark where Clark's dad had him.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that because it's so totally, give him a long enough leash and you can hang him with it.
Yeah, and
it's a great maneuver.
And he has him for technically not even doing anything wrong.
Right.
He was doing what he thought was right, which is the same thing Zod thought. Right. Zod thought he was doing what was right. Mm-hmm. And he got busted for it. So this is just a great similarity. It's now no longer about I want the son of Drill to kneel before me.
Right.
It's now I'm going to show you what I went through.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
Come on, Skreel. Let's pay these Plutonian beam makers a visit.
I love those. Wonder Woman number 32. You're right.
We got to go the full Trinity.
We were going to go back to talking about Batman, which we will do, but you're right. Let's go right to Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I was really anticipating this issue. Tiny details again. Lopresti did a great job on this cover. Diana's belt has the lasso clip, which is open to show the lasso is missing.
Yeah.
Tiny little details like that I appreciate. Adored how the split image was framed by the lasso because it was such a significant part of this issue. I really like him on this book.
I tell you, this issue has 2 nominations for Moments of the Year for me. You know how we have our Raging Oscars where we have Moments of the Year?
Okay.
This issue has 2 nominations in there. And you could probably guess what the 2 issues were.
Can. We'll talk about it when we get to them. But I want to talk about this cover because the way he draws Diana's face is particularly cool. But the way this was split up, it reminded me of the classic Hulk TV show opening because it's Diana versus her evil self due to the reveal, which is that it's actually, her body was part of this whole process. And it dawned on me that it makes the evil Pat reference even funnier that the Ultimate Woman would be dug up and brought back as the Beast of Androgyny.
Yeah, okay.
I got to give major prop to this book because I was thinking about the Smallville season finale. And when you're talking about those moments of the year, I enjoyed this season a great deal. But the one criticism I would have was the ending battle with Doomsday. Fantastic build-up over the whole season, but the payoff could have given us a stronger battle.
Yeah.
That's not an issue here.
Oh, no. Oh, God, no. We get some serious Amazonian throwdown. And I was just, I flew through this issue the first time, just, absorbing in just the beautiful action. Went back through, quickly reread again, just delving into some of the deep intricacies of the issue. This was I probably have to say easily 3 or 4 read-throughs before I even started thinking, okay, we're going to talk about this, so I better do a read-through so I can get some notes ready for this. This is one of those issues that I've read, reread, and read again where I was just like, I was salivating while reading it. It was absolutely... This is another one of those meshings of writing and artwork that just I absolutely loved.
Jim, if you ever decide to leave the show on me, I have a podcasting curse for fallen co-hosts. When we place your lifeless head on a pike near our latrines, would you like it to face east or west?
Nomination number 1. that sequence
so
right
awesome.
there. Oh, that full page spread as she's standing there declaring it. I was like, I want that as a poster.
Yes.
Oh, man.
When we go to a convention to get her autograph, anybody that does this, you make sure to say thank you and ma'am.
Yes.
Because any writer who can say stuff like this is not to be messed with. I loved the indentation on the ground showing how she skidded along after being punched.
Yeah.
It's funny. When she's cut and scraped, Diana looks even more powerful and dangerous somehow. She's a true warrior. She will not back down. Very powerful issue.
Yeah, it's a definite hoorah. A lot of hoorah moments. A lot of just, oh my God, I can't believe they did that type stuff.
I was glad to see the reference to the psychic residue that genocide gives off. We chatted about, on many episodes, the sheer presence of this creature has a mental and emotional effect. Very compelling villain. I joke about the evil Pat stuff, but this is exactly how to introduce a new major villain. I have no doubt genocide will be popping up in the future, and I look forward to it, because this is a villain now who I'm really invested in. I know what you believe. You think I am stupid, that you can outthink me. That's what Candy thought. Before I touched her soul, before I got her dirty, she gave names, lots of names, people you knew, people you met even once. I will pay them all a visit, one by one. Once you're dead, later today, most likely. Wow!
Yeah. A lot of times, I don't like the James Bond villain rant, and I always like, but
that
this
was no James Bond villain.
This was a beautiful, just... I've got you. I'm going to twist the knife because it's not just a physical beatdown. It's an emotional beatdown. It's a mental beatdown. I am breaking the mind, body, and soul of you. And I just, oh, damn.
Now, here's my question to you, Jim.
Okay.
Should Diana have called for backup here? I'll tell you why I think not.
Here's the thing. I never once in this fight thought she needs to call for backup. Right. I never once thought, maybe she should call for Cal, or maybe she could call for Hal.
I know why you didn't think it.
Because she didn't need it.
No, it's not even that. It's not even that. Because Hawkman, and my argument is Hawkman didn't. What started all this, Hawkman didn't need it there either. But this is why it works here. This is about regaining her honor. This is a warrior's battle. This is a battle of honor. So in this particular case, it doesn't apply. Yeah,
this is the samurai code. This is the one-on-one fight. This is it. And this is the last round. It's do or die time. Yeah, this is definitely a one-on-one mono or woman. I don't know what the fancy term for woman. I just know man on man.
It's misandrogyny. It's genocide.
No, we definitely know genocide's a female. She's just a hunky, butchy female. So
I love genocide. I actually really like genocide.
And it's funny, when part of her, like, the mask is ripped off, and you see the red eyes and the gray skin underneath, I liked that look. The tattered mask, with the underneath it. I thought
the
that was
eyebrows
cool
looked
looking.
like Diana's.
Yeah.
It was a tiny little detail I noticed. The eyebrows looked like Diana's. I appreciate stuff like that. I look for it. It's why I go back through and look at art again. It was very nice. I don't know if that was done intentionally or not, but I noticed it. It looked really cool. Jim, if the bus you were on gets thrown at a helicopter, do you think your boss will believe you if you're late for work?
That'd be a tough sell. Really, I was on my way to work. Two superheroes fought. I got thrown at a helicopter, at an invisible helicopter.
More importantly, though, will the bus company give you a free transfer to another bus? And if so, who's going to give it to you? Because it certainly won't be the driver, because it was thrown driver end first into the copter.
The driver didn't survive that. Some of the passengers did, but not the driver. That driver, hasta la vista, baby. It's nice knowing you. Oh, but one thing I got from that fight scene, because when she throws the bus, Diana goes for the rescue, and Genocide, grabs and stops her. Of course, not going to let her save people. Diana comes back with the two fingers to the eye.
I loved it.
And you see the blood splatter. I was like, yes, the Three Stooges School of Combat. You gotta love it.
Also, the use of the tiara as a slashing weapon to buy some time to save the bus was a wow moment, because she really was showing right here, I am a warrior. I know how to fight. And she knows how to fight. Remember, she learned how to fight before she had her flight and things like that. This is really cool. Jim, your lover or the people on the bus? Where do you go?
Oh, that's easy. The bus. It's.
I would have a tough time with that decision.
It's the whole thing, with, look who was on the helicopter. That was Nemesis, a warrior, a soldier. He would understand.
In that case, maybe.
Now, if it
was my wife and it was the warrior and the soldier, I'd have a tough time. I would really have a tough time.
I sit here and say I wouldn't have a tough time. That was a no-brainer for me.
If it was Mariah,
then again, I'm not married. I'm not, I don't.
If it was my wife,
if I had a lady whatnot, maybe I would be a little hesitant. But
the people on the bus would go down,
crash and burn.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I think the people on the bus are pretty done there. I'd feel bad about it, but
see, for me,
I would try to do both.
Yeah, all honesty. Knowing me the way I know me, if I did have, a significant other on the helicopter, I would go for the bus first, because I would feel bad if I saved, I'll feel bad if, my wife were to die, but I would feel even worse if I saved my wife and more than multiple people died. And I'd have to, every time I looked at her, I would have to remember, she's alive because these 15 people are dead. And that alone would kill me. So I would have to go with the bus.
Wouldn't kill her. That's the.
I would have a hard time being a hero after that if she died.
I don't. But being honest about myself, I could not let my wife die. I couldn't do that. Now, in this particular case, we learn a lot about this relationship, which we'll get into.
That's just so romantic.
I love that it was put on the table, though, because it was a real moment. It was a real decision-making moment, and it felt very real. It was cool to see the cameo by the Shield. Yeah. Not just because it's one of the upcoming Red Circle characters, but cameos like that, with helping out the injured, adds a whole universe feel. It was nice and quick. Didn't derail the storyline. It was all that was really needed, but I appreciated the handling of it.
Yeah, and he's a DC superhero.
Yeah.
They said that we saw those in the sneak peeks that are in the back of the comics. He's a DC superhero, so that made sense. Part of me would have liked to maybe even seen one or two members of the Freedom Fighters helping out as well. That could have been another thing where they're doing crowd control. Same deal where they're letting Wonder Woman do the fight down, because this is obviously a Wonder Woman level, but I got to help these civilians.
I like that it was quick, though.
Yeah,
I mean that handling of that was good. Quick
Definitely.
Little cameo. That's all you really needed. So I do think if you put too many people in, you might have done 3 or 4 panels of it or something like that. It was quick, easy. I liked that. It was fine. Okay. The most powerful moment of the issue is, surprisingly for me, not the amazing physical battle. It's the emotional warfare, where we truly see how the lasso can be used for harm. Did you ever really love him? Wow. I was hoping that her answer was a lie or a trick, but her inner dialogue about the lasso reaching into the soul and revealing its secrets shattered me. It makes sense. The Amazons were gone. She was looking for a mate. This was a chance to continue her people.
Now, here's one thing I tell you. You can tell Tom has been away from Cleveland for a long time, because most of us native Clevelanders, we're used to, being used as, as breeding stock. You look at the superior genetic code of us. We're the thoroughbreds of the Midwest. So naturally, you're looking for somebody to continue on. You're going to go to Cleveland. So he's been away from the town for a while, because most of us are used to that kind of stuff. We're constantly propositioned multiple times, a year. Hey, what do you say? Help out. I want to have some super kids. So can you help us out, Sensei? Yeah. I tell you, I get an email a day, from somebody. So you can,
Well, a lot of people don't know this. Jim has a bigger litter than most puppies.
Yeah. And
I did not expect you to go here with this. That was funny.
And let me do another segue. Speaking of litters, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there listening.
It's right. This is our Father's Day evening episode.
Yes.
You're right. This is why Wonder Woman month after month is a top 5 read for me. The debate always comes up about having a second Wonder Woman book. I love this one. But on the flip side, a great character is not only defined by the number of books that the character has, the character should be defined by the quality of the book the character is featured in. This book kicks so much butt month after month. Would I love more Diana? Sure, but it better live up to this quality. I'm spoiled by this.
Yeah.
This is a great book that just made me realize I don't care if there's one Wonder Woman title or if there's 50 Wonder Woman titles. I want this quality. I demand this quality. This is a great, great book, and this shows why this character is so doggone cool. I'm gushing about this the same way I was gushing about Batman and Robin, but I'll say one thing. That is more of a testament to this book, because I'm more of a Batman fan. It's one of those characters that tends to be more my thing. I'm enjoying this book every bit as much as I'm enjoying what's going on at Batman right now, which I think is at the pinnacle of really cool stuff going on at the moment.
Yeah.
So to be able to say that, if I had to cut down to a top 5 of books right now, I would have a tough time not making this one in that list. Which means with all the cool Batman books that are out right now, some of them are going over Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Which shows the quality of this title.
When I list my... when you look at, are you a Superman guy? Are you a Batman guy? I'm a Superman guy. You all know it.
Sure.
But here's the thing. For me right now, Wonder Woman's beaten Batman. If I had to rank the Trinity in my mind as to top to bottom, it would be Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. She's got the Batman beat. And it's stuff
I'd be
like...
the other way. I'd be Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman.
Yeah.
And, although I'm hard-pressed to say that really all 3 of them are on an even playing field right now, though, because... I'm almost leery, as much as I'm enjoying Batman, anything that would give him extra credit is that I like Batman's universe so much that when you deliver great Batman, it got me. But
And I'm the same way with I'm loving the Superman universe so
Right.
much. That's what puts Superman at the top.
and I'm
Isn't just
almost
Superman,
leery to put
it is the
Superman at the bottom of
universe.
those three either, because their Action Comics Annual, I even said at the beginning of this, did you take any notes on Action Comics Annual? And neither of us had, but there's stuff that I just want to talk about, so we're going to talk about that. Hopefully we'll get to that in this episode. I look forward to the Superman books every time they come out. I look forward to Wonder Woman every time it comes out, Batman. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't want another Wonder Woman title. I'd love one, but it's got to be this.
Yeah, it's got to be this quality. It's got to be.
This has set a bar very high for this character.
Now,
wait, I got this one. Wait, hang on. All right, creature. You killed my friends. You've destroyed innocent lives. You have broken the hearts and souls of the people I hold most dear. And one of the other of us is spending the last 30 seconds on this earth. This is my promise. And if it should be both of us, so be it. This is why easily this is my favorite writer. There are lines that just resonate with me after reading anything Gail Simone does. And that's not just true of this book. It's true of my favorite book right now, Secret Six, which is, it's funny. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, it's Secret Six all the freaking way. We're not going to get to talk about Secret Six on this episode, but you better believe in the next couple of weeks we're talking about Secret Six.
Yeah, we got 2 issues we want to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. But this is why people are like, why are you such a Gail Simone fan? It's dialogue like this that just, I think we all make personal connections with writers. Her dialogue, for me, just hits me every time I read an issue of hers.
Now, there's another one before this, when Diana's like, she actually starts putting the blame of this on herself. And I love that inner battle she had. Like, no matter how I spin this, the tragedy here is of my own making. My own beliefs coming back to haunt me. I could have killed Ares half a dozen times. Dr. Psycho, Professor Minerva, a dozen more each. But I chose to let them live. How vain that righteousness feels now. How self-serving and costly. That for me was the hero competing with the warrior in her. The hero that says you cannot kill under any reasons. The warrior says, hey, if you got to kill, you got to kill. It's that conflict of duality.
At the end, though,
yes.
It's defined who she really is, and I really like that. And I'm glad you brought up that dialogue, because you're right, that is really important here, because you got to see the journey she went on this issue, where she was doubting herself and what should she do, what's the right thing, and at the end, I do think we get a clear picture of who she really is, and I think it's great because we saw her go on a journey in 52. And this is where sequential storytelling, where continuity, where time matters. And it's great that the person who killed Max Lord went on that journey through 52, wound up to being where she is today. And at the end of this issue, I think we clearly see that she knows who she is now. And I really liked that. This is why I read comics, dude. This is the hell yeah moments. It's a medium that gives me this like no other. Whether you agree with the kind of books I like or not, I don't care. I do this show because I want to rant and rave about books that I'm enjoying. It's why people say, why are you guys, always so positive? Why don't you talk about stuff you dislike? Because my experience with comics, really, the reason why I spend money on this every month is because I've got a pull list that I really enjoy. And we don't talk about every comic DC publishes every month. We don't have the time for that. We tend to pick ones that are our favorites. Sometimes we'll grab ones we haven't talked about in a while. But it really is about sharing, this hobby. If you're in this hobby for any other reason other than personal enjoyment, as I'm talking about as a fan, not as a creator, as a fan. If you're in this hobby for any other reason, you're missing the point. Yeah. That's not saying that you can't get other things out of it, but this is an entertainment medium. And Preview's catalog is too doggone thick to not be getting what you and I are getting out of this.
I know.
Seriously, if you're a reader right now and you're not getting this kind of joy and pleasure out of this, I don't care if you agree. We all, you and I, wait, great example, beginning of this episode, Batman and Robin #1. I adored it. I can't wait for issue #2. I'm gushing over it. I really enjoyed the conversation with you. You didn't get that same experience, and that was interesting to me that it's naturally when you really love something, you just naturally say, well, yeah, of course.
Everybody else is going to, has to.
But I loved the distinction as to why, and a lot of it was the reasons I liked it were the reasons you didn't.
Yeah, it's personal choice.
Right. But that's the Previews catalog is too doggone thick. If you aren't finding titles, I'm not saying every one of your books has to feel like Wonder Woman does for me, but if you're not getting this experience, do yourself a favor and try out some new books. Find those books that the comic medium is too doggone diverse right now for you not to be getting this. Books are expensive right now. Switch it up a little bit. Don't get caught into, I've got to have every issue of this run. That's a cool reason to be in comics. I'm a collector as well. I won't deny that. So I'm not saying I don't get the collector mentality. Trust me, I got it. But take those certain books and prioritize. Say, okay, these books I have to have whole runs of. And leave yourself some wiggle room for some books that you're saying, these are kind of for me right now. And find books that give you this gush factor. Because if you're not getting this from at least a couple titles every month, you're missing the point.
Yeah,
and it's and you're wasting your money.
If you don't got this love for it, man, start looking out here. Listen to what we say, what we're gushing about. Maybe it's something you would, or listen to another podcast. Maybe they're talking about a different title. Hear what they say about it. Just there's so much free information out there that you can make an informed decision on. Hey, let me try this book. Let me try this book. Read what you're liking. Enjoy this. This is a costly hobby, but you can get so much out of it. Like this issue, as I said, I read it at least. This is probably close to a dozen reads on this single issue, just because not only just notes for the show, but it was also just I was sheer enjoyment of it. Read it through just to enjoy the visual looks of it. Read it through for the dialogue, for the words, and just the meaning behind what's going on in there. There's just so many reasons to read a comic and just enjoy it. That go out there, have fun, enjoy this stuff, man.
I do want to say one other thing, too, and I've said this multiple times. Please do the comic community a favor and shout out those books that give you that personally all over the net. Nathan, last episode, great example, did a phone call where he called in about books. They weren't DC books. They were just books that he liked. He talked about a couple DC books in his first phone call that he wanted to get on there, but then he called back again and said, hey, here's a couple things by Kirkman you might be missing that I really enjoyed. I don't care if people do that when they call into the show. I look at it as the phone call-in session of our show is really a chance for people to just kind of call in and rant and rave about anything that they want to chat about. I mean, obviously, we would lean towards DC stuff that you're really liking. But if if you're so motivated like Nathan, and there's something that you're like, guys, you should be reading this. Nathan called in for a couple seconds, to get those things out there. I don't care if people call it about books that fall outside of our show topic for the listener section, because that's the point of this show to me. It really has always been. It's let's talk about what's great about this hobby. It's getting more expensive for us. So point people to the things they should be reading, because we're all probably making... there's a book that I'm hoping I get to talk about this episode that I almost cut. And I can't now, unfortunately. But it's one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, I can cut this and I'll be able to shift my budget around. And I was talking last episode that now the rising prices has made me... It kept me from trying some newer titles that I wanted to try. And that is an interesting... I think that's why shows like this help people, because you can make decisions based on our commentary. Our Batman and Robin debate's a great example of that. Some people who maybe didn't pick up Batman and Robin #1 hear some of your comments and be like, well, no, I kind of agree with Jim. That's not my cup of tea. Or they'll hear my comments and say, well, no, that sounds like exactly what I'd like to see from Batman storytelling right now. And we'll talk about the other books in the line, too, because it may be if you can't pick up all the Batman books, we might point you to the one that's right for you. So, anyway, Zeus taking this moment to educate Achilles really worked. I was glad to see that he recognizes who Diana is. I think he genuinely believes this culture deserves its rest. Of course, that doesn't mean the Amazons are going to agree with that. And
that's, they're still ready to fight.
Yeah. I was glad to see Achilles asking why they aren't helping her. Zeus's reasoning works, but it was a tiny detail that made sense to me and was needed, because we're going to be like, well, how do these people just kind of kick back and watch this stuff? The whole backup thing that you always throw out there. Why? And I was glad to see this. I needed to see them in this issue. They are an important plot point, and it just was something that it was a small segment that I thought was very well crafted to give us a placeholder as far as what is this crew doing right now and why aren't they involved. It worked.
Okay, now your question, let me throw a question back at you, Sean.
Sure.
Okay, so you're Achilles, you're Zeus, you're sitting around watching that. Now, do you think they got like a pay-per-view deal going that they're going to pay like $40 for it? Or, how much would you pay for that pay-per-view? Now, I'd go as high as, WrestleMania prices for that fight.
Oh,
that
dude,
was just,
we could get all of our friends together. It would be cheap because we'd all pitch in.
Yeah.
We're going to somebody's house with a big screen.
Yeah.
And
big screen, big tub of popcorn, I'd honestly,
you get the right number of people involved, you go pretty high. Because seriously, if it's this Wonder Woman versus genocide,
Yeah.
Or you find somebody with a cauldron like Zeus had, and
Yeah, now does that concern, is he doing an illegal tap into the signal? I don't know. Maybe Zeus is breaking the law there.
that's right, yeah, that's right. Zeus is streaming it from the internet or something. I don't know what's going on there. Tom's denial of the truth of what Diana said is a real emotional moment. I kept wondering what the inevitable confrontation is going to be like. I hope that somehow they can come to a happy medium because I like them together. And it really is an issue of here you're seeing cultural issues. She's from a very different culture than he is.
Yeah.
And her reasoning and why she is. I think there is a feeling of fondness with her. And is he going to believe that they can grow into that? Is she going to believe they can grow into that or not? I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting whatever happens.
Yeah,
there's nothing simple about this, and I like that. Because it does fit two very different cultures and two very different people. I'm going to be curious to see where they go from here.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the emotional exploration we've had in Wonder Woman has just been some wonderful stuff. With, with Etta Candy, and her and Diana's their friendship, but also the fact that Etta's husband always had a thing for Wonder Woman, and there's just that whole roller coaster of emotion. Plus, Etta's right now in the hospital, kind of like in a psychotic, vegetated state from genocide. Will that whole thing ordeal, will Wonder Woman be able to bring her out of it? And if she brings Etta out of it, what will be their relationship? Because some realizations came to Etta while genocide was torturing her. So there's going to be
will Etta be able to go back to work? What will that be like? Is this going to have, what kind of deep emotional scars is this going to leave for her? Will she be able to get past them? Her story is going to be an interesting one to follow.
Post-traumatic stress disorder is nothing compared to what these guys are going to go through these next. That's something I'm looking forward to. I'm normally the bam blam kind of guy, but I'm really looking forward to the emotional, the lovey-dovey, the just that the relationship aspect, and not just the relationship of Tom and Diana, but Etta and Diana. I want to see how this whole thing's going to work out with them. Flag too, yeah.
The entire supporting cast has been touched by this storyline in some way.
Yeah, I'm dying to know what's going to happen. This is the excitement that I have when I'm reading this, as I'm thinking through all the, oh my God, they're going to maybe do this, maybe they're going to do that. Oh, what's going to happen here?
This twist is the one I was talking about. Even after all genocide has done to those she loves and to herself, Diana still has regret over what she needs to do when she tears the lasso from Genocide's body. I was glad to see the moment of revelation to Diana, that she can't fall to those depths. But just Genocide being violated by the lasso removal. I think back to what it did to Diana when Genocide took it. Their connection was pretty deep.
Yeah.
And I was glad that we got to learn about the lasso as a tool and that there was a symbiotic relationship of sorts. The page where she rips out was so much more intense because of it. Oh.
Well, dude, once again, Mal, for my second nomination of the moment of the year.
Sure.
And it wasn't just the actual act of it. It was the lead up for it. When they're fighting, right. Like, wait, regret. Why do you feel regret? Because you are failing. Because I will murder your world. I'm sorry for this, Genocide. Rip, and then as the rip out, you had the storm in the background. Wait, no. Yeah. I was like, ooh, wow, and you can just see as
big applause for Aaron Lopresti and the whole art team on that, because right down to colors, everything. It just the whole thing inks. The whole thing was just so visually pleasing. It was wow.
And it's funny. I could even hear kind of like a softer voice in Diana. She says, "I'm sorry for this, Genocide." Not I'm sorry for it was that softer, tender moment right before because she knows she is completely destroying Genocide with this. And then just you see Genocide fall in the water, and Diana's like, "I can't do it." And that's the line between the hero and the warrior. The warrior would let your enemy fall and die.
Her compassion. Yeah. Her intense compassion comes through there. And it's one of the things that I find so interesting about this character. I adored that. It was absolutely just a wonderfully, brilliantly handled sequence of events. That dialogue, visually, it's again, I use the Smallville reference. I loved this season of Smallville, so I'm a fan. So don't take this the wrong way, but I would have loved to have seen this in the finale. This is a great example of if you're going to do Smallville's finale should have been 2 episodes and been this.
Yeah.
And that's only because what I liked in Smallville so much, when Superman and Doomsday did battle on Smallville, it was great.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. It just needed more. It just needed more of what was already cool there. It needed to be a little bit more developed, and it would have been interesting. It was a great ending. I enjoyed it, but this is wow. You could have done that over 2 episodes, and it could have looked like this. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
And then
this, I want to see this on television. Or animated. Wait, that Wonder Woman animated feature? I'd love to see another one.
Yeah.
Wait, take this battle. This should be adapted. Into an animated feature. Why not?
Oh my God, dude. Yeah. This would be an amazing feature.
Yeah.
Just this whole genocide story, and
it'd have to be a Lord of the Rings style feature because I want to see the whole thing. It was. I mean, this is visually. I'd like to see this fight. This is how you do a supervillain battle.
Yeah, this is one of those epic battles, adventure, epic events in a hero's life. And it's funny because even with the dropping of genocide, doesn't end it because Ares is like, thanks, I needed you to kill her. She's now my bride. We are now rising up the underworld. Oh, nice.
I like that Euphemus was a turncoat.
Yeah.
One of the Argonauts is working with Ares, and he's going to bring everything up from the sea onto both of these cultures. Poseidon's going right after his world and bringing that up to tear down the Amazons and the Olympians. Wow.
Nice.
Now, here's the questions. Will the Amazons and the Olympians unite to stop this threat? Will their fighting mean the loss of both sides to Ares? The two of them, because they can't get along, will that be it? It's interesting to see where this power struggle could go, because it could go one way or the other, or it could go both ways. Who knows? Where it could lead to one or the other, or when they try to work together, they can't. There's so many directions this could go.
Here's my gut instinct, because we've already seen Achilles show respect towards Diana.
Oh yeah, and I like that Zeus is teaching him that.
And Diana's had a little bit, in her dealings with them, saying, "Hey, these kids, when she didn't do a complete throwdown with them, but it was I gotta, kind of like." She initially approached them with some diplomatic, tries. She didn't just go in there trying to punch him, and so we're seeing that with her on her to them. So I see these two both fighting their different wars, but then uniting, and there's going to be a union of the Olympians and the Amazons. Whether it's going to be a full-time thing at the end where, Themyscira has both male and female for the first time, possibly, or whether they keep separate at the end. But I see a definite a union between these two.
At least for this battle, for the common enemy of my enemy.
Enemy of my enemy kind of thing. But I think it's going to go beyond that because of the respect each one has for the other. They'll see each other as warriors. They'll see each other as, the lesser of an evil.
They could be neighboring cultures that trade with each other. So, I don't know. You're right. It could change everything. Who knows?
Yeah,
I see a lot of different possibilities
There's
about
so
where
many,
this could go.
Yeah, this could turn the whole thing upside down.
I like
again.
that, though.
Yeah.
I like that it could, they could remain warring cultures. They could become... they could become one culture. They could become separate cultures that have a friendly relationship or a tentative relationship. There's so much you could do here that is very true to how cultures would react in this type of thing. Ares has personal motivations here, not only to beat Zeus, but also the Amazons for standing in his way time and time again. So this is a battle that's just, ugh.
Yeah, this is personal now.
Yeah. And something that's very true. Jim, I want to talk about, real quick, if I could, Hellblazer. I know you're not reading Hellblazer.
Yeah.
But it's Hellblazer number 256. Peter Milligan's now writing the book. And I've had this strange relationship with Hellblazer. It's a book that I haven't really followed. I was reading the Andy Diggle run and quite liked it, but then I started stockpiling it again. And it wasn't because it wasn't because of quality. It was really just time-wise, I never seemed to get to it. So I was actually considering dropping it. But when Peter Milligan hit, who I really loved on X-Force with Michael Allred, I figured I would read the issues from him because I had them before making that call. Now, not only do I like it, but I'm really loving John Constantine at the moment. I particularly recommend the 2-part story from 254 to 255, and now this current issue, 256. 256 focuses on his strained relationship with Phoebe. John is growing older, and you talk about how you like stories that show progression.
Yeah.
John is aging in his book from when he originally started out to present day. There's been like some real time aging to John.
Cool.
So, because I remember I've been reading the Swamp Thing appearances, and I got to see John Constantine there. But I also remember reading John Constantine in things like Books of Magic. And not just the current Books of Magic series that just came out, the previous Books of Magic. I've read Constantine. I've read Constantine more outside of his own book than in his own book. So I'm familiar with the character, but I am not a Constantine expert. But for all his knowledge of the supernatural, the areas where Constantine has little confidence is in himself. And the fact that he's growing older is starting to have an effect on him, but it isn't that simple. John can be a selfish man, and it's clear that John looks for like a loophole in any situation, which is why he survived for so long. You know, he gets into these deadly, horrible, horrifying situations that you would normally see in your typical horror movie, but he finds that one way, that one little trick. He lures them into a trap. He causes some situation. He plays the cards just right that he pulls one out.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Yeah, which is what's cool about him, but because of that, he's a little bit of a slimy dude. And he's very human. The tragedy here is that he wants Phoebe's attention again. They had a relationship, but it went sour, mainly because John's John. and you know, he just naturally does that. He wants her to love him. He isn't a well man physically, and the hard years have taken a toll on him mentally as well. He uses this potion to regain her love. And he debates over it all the way through. And the sad part is, deep down, I think he could have won her over. You know, will she ultimately discover what he did? How will that play out? It's funny, when they start to get together, she makes this comment that it won't be dark and supernatural all the time, will it? Which is funny because that is John's whole world, and one of the reasons that she's back with him so quickly is because of that. The other tragedy, though, is I do think that John really does have feelings for her, and he just betrayed her in a major way, which he knows, which lowers his own self-worth to himself. He knows he's a bastard, and we as the reader see that he accepts it too easily, and there is something more to him. The human feel of this character really got me. I'm not a Constantine expert, so forgive me for those of you that have been reading this for a long time. I'm like, but Sean, you're missing this. I understand that. Like I said, this Milligan run I've read this run so far, and I'm really getting glued to it. The last 3 issues in particular, it started to click for me. For me, this is a Vertigo must-read at the moment, and it was one that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure to get this and slip this in on this episode, because it's been a book that people have recommended to me. I've read, I've stockpiled. You know, we talk about how you and I get things that we get in trade and stockpile, and this was one I'm like, if I'm going to go to trade on this, I'm going to stop it, because it's just going to sit there if I go to trade. So that's why I was going to stop it. I was going to pick it up and trade because I'm like, well, I've liked what I've read so far. And I'm like, you know what, budget-wise, I've really got to stop doing that. I've just got to get books that I want to read now. Since I read 254, and 254 is where this really started, 255 I had there, I read it immediately. And I jumped ahead of a lot of stuff to read 255. When 256 came out, it was one of the top 3 titles, because it just came out. It's one of the top 3 titles that I read. So that's how invested I was in this. It just really hit me as like, wow, this character is really human, really cool. And it goes back to, there is some progression for him real time that you were mentioning that you were so interested in. It was interesting to read this story. So I thought it'd be one that I wanted to throw out here as a Vertigo title, because we don't always get time to talk about the great Vertigo books that we're reading. And this is one where I'm like, okay, for Hellblazer fans, guys, right now I'm getting it. Milligan, for his history with Vertigo, I always assumed that he had written Hellblazer before. This is his first run on Hellblazer. I don't know how familiar you are with Peter Milligan, but I've read a lot of things with Peter Milligan. Shade the Changing Man was a book. This is stuff when you weren't reading comics.
When I wasn't reading.
I was reading. So this is a writer that really drew me to giving this book another chance. I loved Diggle stuff, when I read, but I did go to stockpiling it. So I figured, let me just tell people, hey, this is one that, wow, right now I'm digging.
See, the more you keep talking, the more I hate you.
It is one of those books, though.
Here's the thing.
I was thinking I was going to be able to drop this.
Because here's the thing with me and Hellblazer, I pick up trades, but I have so many back order on trades that I haven't read that I'm not right now picking up Hellblazer trades. I'm picking up other trades. Yeah, I've had this system I'm trying to do where I read 1 trade a week.
Right.
And I just, so I'm
How's that working?
It's great. I started it last week, and yeah.
Have you read one trade yet?
Yes, I did. I read Superman for Tomorrow. Yeah. There you go. That's the one I read. All right. And I also read Long Halloween. There we go. That's 2. I'm ahead of the game.
Neither of which you were stockpiling.
Right. But I'm trying to, and it's the whole thing. I want to do it. Right. It's a way to do it, and I honestly was thinking about bringing it into work and have it be my lunchtime read, and I'll read a little bit at lunch because I've
done that. I actually do. I'll read comics at work during my lunch. When I'm eating, and that's Hellblazer. I can't really read during lunch because if the kids are in the room, but I've done that before. Where I bring
I'm debating about doing that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's part of the problem is for me if I'm sitting at my desk reading a comic book, my boss may not be too happy with me. It's just the whole,
Well, that's and your job that's a little bit different.
I got to watch that.
See, I'll read. It's funny when I read at work. That's when I read like Patrick the Wolf Boy and my Johnny DC books like Tiny Titans stuff like that. I'll read those at work because realistically, I can hand it to one of my kids and say, go ahead and read that.
Yeah.
And I like that. I mean, that's kind of fun. But it is, and it's funny, I'll only do it during lunchtime. I won't do it when my kids are out at recess. Because that's time where I'm actually getting things done and copying things. When I'm actually eating food, I can do it. Yeah. So it's such a bizarre, see me with like a sandwich and a comic book open. But it is one of those books, I thought this was an interesting one because I was expecting the conversation to have say, I got a book that I'm probably dropping because I was going to build off of our discussion about trades and how, we're stockpiling these books. And I'm trying to get away from my stockpile and get more towards what am I actually reading during the course of a month. This is a book, I can't drop it because I'm really reading it right now as it comes out. Especially the last 3 issues. Not only did I read it, I jumped to them. So that's a sign that it's really a good book. It's really entertaining. So it's going up my stack. It's
cool.
It's an interesting read. The other one I want to talk about is the Great Fables Crossover. And I'm going to kind of do this general because I know you're not reading it at the moment. But this is it's a 9-part story that's taking place in the Literals, Fables, and Jack of Fables. Literals is a mini-series in the Fables universe. It kicked off in Fables number 83. The basic premise of Fables is Fables are like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. All of the stories, the fairy tales we grew up with as kids.
Little Red Riding Hood.
The Big Bad Wolf, Little Red Riding Hood, Little Boy Blue. All that stuff that you read as a kid, Hansel and Gretel. And
Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack and the Beanstalk. All of that stuff. Jack Frost. It's funny, and there's reasons why you keep talking about all the Jacks that have appeared in those, because that's actually one guy in Fables. It's Jack Horner, who wound up, because of his schemes, wound up being all of those people. And it's really great because we're Mundies. We're real people. Fables are in our world because they were escaping their world because of an adversary. And I won't say who the adversary was, but those of you who have been reading Fables know who this character was. The interesting twist right now is Fabletown, where they were living, which is a location in our world, has been destroyed because of their war with the adversary. They're living at a place called the Farm, which is where they sent all of the fairy tale creatures that don't have human forms. Like the 3 little pigs are up there, things like that. But the big bad wolf for a while was able to live in Fabletown. He got exiled for a reason, but I won't go into that. But it's interesting, let's talk about the big bad wolf for a little bit, though. He's like the Wolverine of Fables. I mean, and it honestly is. I mean, when you read him, he has that type of directive. He was the big bad wolf, but he's also the husband to Snow White. He transforms from wolf to human, and he... Through this story, the main premise is Kevin Thorne, who's the strongest of the Literals. The Literals are the ones that wrote our world and created all the fables. So basically, the story writers of Fables. This literal, Kevin Thorne, is trying to rewrite this world as the creatures inside it know it. He wants to write the ending first, which basically means the end of everything. Everybody gets wiped out and start things over again. Well, naturally, the Fables don't want that to happen. They don't want to be written out of existence. They are reteaming with Jack Horner, who's basically all of the Jacks that you know from, who has discovered that he is half literal, which is why in his book, Jack of Fables, he's able to break the fourth wall and talk to us, the reader.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's this whole premise is, and at the beginning of each issue, which is really cool for people who are fans of this, and I don't need this in every book, there's always a blurb in the beginning of either Fables, Jack of Fables, or Literals, in this case, the miniseries, that explains what's come before. This is a good jumping on miniseries. People are like, Fables, okay, it's in 83 issues right now. I can't go back and get 83 issues. Times are tough, all that. I'd love to try Fables. This story, the Great Fables Crossover, this 9-part story, it's a great, you could pick up issue number 83 of Fables and decide if it's for you. So it's a good time for people who maybe aren't reading Fables. If you want to jump on and get into this world, they give you a blurb right in the beginning that gives you a kind of what has come before. It's a small little paragraph. Not even, it's just a few sentences. It's, in Jack's book, it's done by Jack. Yeah. And it's funny, Jack right now is mad at his artist, so he left his book. So he's not even in Jack of Fables right now. So, but yet he still narrates parts of it, saying for the state, don't you wish I was still here, that type of thing, and look how my book's falling apart because they're in it. And it's
man, that's outstanding.
It's an awesome. It's really, really funny, and it fits. Snow White's in it, Old King Cole, Rose Red, Little Red Riding Hood, Hansel's in it, Prince Charming's in it. It's just a wonderful, fun read. If you've heard people talk about Fables before and you weren't sure if you wanted to give it a shot or not, this Great Fables crossover is really a good story to get your feet wet and decide if it's the right book for you. And like I said, don't feel like you have to pick up the whole thing. Pick up issue number 83 of Fables. It's the intro to the story. In that one issue, you can pretty much tell, is this for me or not? Am I even intrigued to pick up the rest of it? It's on part 8 right now of the 9th part. I think next week or the week after, it's one of those 2 weeks, the last part of this crossover comes out. So it's been a 3-month crossover it's been going through. But I really wanted to talk about it because I actually had planned, and I had started doing it, and I'm still doing it. I went back to the beginning of Fables and started reading it again. So I was actually going to take a break. I was going to keep collecting them, but then kind of read the whole thing to get caught up in time for the crossover. I couldn't do it. Because they had this one cover where one of the literals looks like Groucho Marx. And I'm a big Marx Brothers fan, so I'm like, okay, I got to see why. He's comedy.
Okay.
Kevin Thorne is this literal. The reason why he hasn't just wiped everything out, he's got writer's block. And writer's block is actually his twin brother. And so what he does is he starts enlisting help from other literals, such as comedy and things like that, and brings all these people in.
Cool.
And from other fables that he created, because he created all of them, because he wrote them all. So he brings them in to help him out. Hansel's one of them, and this guy named Sam. And it's just a fun. It's for as wacky as it is, it's very serious because you would think Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf with how big his schnauzer was, can smell this guy, can track him down. He is one of the best trackers in the Fables universe. He starts hunting him down. Kevin Thorne realizes, because obviously he's writing everything, realizes what he's doing. So starts transforming him into other creatures. Turns him into a monkey, turns him into... He's like, oh, that's not good. I can turn him into something else. Turns him into a jackass, turns him into
nice.
And each one is more humiliating than the next. I won't tell you where it goes, but turns him into an elephant, and then I'll leave it from there because where it goes next is incredibly funny. It's like you think yourself, okay, turns him into... a monkey, turns him into a jackass, then turns him into an elephant. How could it possibly get worse? Well, the transformations do get worse and more humiliating. And yet he can't track this guy down anymore because he's no longer the wolf form. He still has all of his memories. He knows who he is. And it turns out because of who his father is, he's a little bit immune to Thorne's manipulations. And it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. It's just such a cool series that if you haven't read it and you're like, I've heard people talk about it, my friends are reading it right now, I can't afford to go back and get all the backstory. You don't really need to because of the little blurbs in the beginning. They tell you what you need to know from the past. It's a good jumping on point. And, a lot of times we as fans feel like we have to read everything to get into a book. There's always that point where, Hellblazer is a great example for me. There's no way I'm going to be able to go back and read all 200 some odd issues of Hellblazer.
Right.
I'd love to be able to say that I could. It's not going to happen. I haven't read every issue of Batman. I'm a huge Batman fan. This is another one of those books that if you can't jump back and read all 83 issues, maybe consider the Great Fables crossover as your jumping on point for this book. It's a cool book. I wanted to give a little Vertigo love this episode. in particular, because they're books that I've just been really enjoying. And as long as we were on this particular topic, I wanted to hit that. So sorry for the little. I know it was supposed. I know it was supposed to go back to you, but this is one. I wanted to make sure that I got into this because I made that reference to the book that I was gonna drop, and then, damn it. Jim, let's talk about Batman 687.
Oh yeah, I gotta say something. Yeah, the gushing I didn't have for Batman and Robin, I have the exact opposite effect on this one.
The Winnick one, yeah.
The Winnick one, I just absolutely love this, and I was gushing completely over this Batman. And that's the thing. That was the thing that was really throwing me off. Because when I first read Batman and Robin, that came out, and then this one came out. Then I read this, I was like, this one, he felt like he was, Batman. He felt like, when he put on the costume, when he was there, he was Batman.
Do you think it's because more of that journey was explained in this one? Because it really was. I do agree with what Mandy said when she did a recent Life in the Gutter. She said that this one should have come out first. I probably wouldn't have thought that if I didn't. So it's a cool point that she made, because I don't know that I wasn't thinking that way. But when she said it, I'm like, no, she's got a point there. It really is. Because for me, I agree with you in the sense that I loved Batman and Robin #1. It delivered everything that I thought it was going to deliver. I know we were in different places about that. It was a top-tier book. I was thrilled beyond belief with that book. This one, I was equally thrilled with. And that's a compliment to this title because I wasn't as excited when I grabbed it. I was excited because I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. Winnick's back. I'm going to be curious to see what he does with Batman. I really liked the last time that he had done Batman, so I was really interested in this one. But this really delivered. Really delivered.
Big time.
And important events I wanted to see, because I told you how much I'm enjoying this exploration of Dick Grayson. We see it here.
Oh, big, yeah.
And I would also put Streets of Gotham in this same category. We'll talk about that when we get to it, but this is really interesting. Flashbacks to the teen years of Dick Grayson. This memory of Bruce and a time where Dick tried to take down his mentor as a training exercise really worked. In many ways, it reminded me of very Jim Kirk from Star Trek. Bruce wanting him to do this out in the city, but he changed the rules and took it to him in the Batcave as a way to try and get a win. And it worked. I loved that. I'm like, this is so cool. What an interesting memory.
And I liked how Batman responded to the assault.
Oh, yes.
He got in position. He got a mask on him and a mask on Alfred.
Right.
Because he didn't know what the gas was coming at him. And I ate that up, and he's like, Alfred, arsenal, Alfred to go to the arsenal and arm himself up just in case. I was just like, yes, that was just a cool thing. And then when he does take down Dick's got that light-hearted, Dick Grayson, boy wonder Robin. And I was just like, damn, man, this is cool.
I think what's working here for me is I read an interview with Morrison where Morrison said that he likes to jump in when the story's already been going. So I think what DC recognized, and I'm just making a guess here, but it's clear from the crafting of this book, is there's an opportunity here and a need here to really get into Batman's head and to understand what Dick Grayson's going through in this journey that Morrison's crafting as well. Winnick is crafting here this journey that we need to see. And I do agree that we need to see this. I'm with you. You and I are in sync here completely. It's more Batman-focused. Bruce's cowl was all that was left. Clark and Diana talking to Dick about the contingency plan. It's interesting that Bruce didn't have one for Batman. He wanted Tim and Dick to handle things as their own personas. He was pushing his sons to have their own lives. And he looks at his sons as individuals and tried to give them a life outside of his. Sure, they might be protectors, but he's giving them the chance to choose their own path. And that was interesting. A father would do that. He wouldn't try to saddle them with being him. He would try to, his last words would be to try and give them. He gave Jason what he thought Jason needed. He gave Dick what he thought Dick needed.
Yeah.
Basically saying, don't try to be me. Be yourself. You establish. It's funny with how when he took on the Nightwing role, how strained that was for the two of them initially. To show how full circle they've come to this point. They've got a strong relationship now. They understand each other. They've got respect. Great progression, great continuity. This is what's great about seeing their relationship develop over time. Whether you're a new reader or an old reader to it, you see that these guys have come a long way. It was cool to see that. And with what's happening with Tim, and that's where, is this prodigal again? No, not even close. Because this is being written like this man is dead. And these characters are reacting to that. And this situation is so totally different because of that. Dick, on the other hand, though, deep down knew that Gotham needed what his father created, and it was his responsibility to take that on. I love these bits where it's not easy for him. Am I all right? And this Alfred moment. Am I all right? No, sir, I am not. My son has died.
Yeah.
Oh. Dick, no matter how you prepare yourself, I just wasn't ready to lose him. Both books handled the emotion of Alfred and Dick well. We talked about them. We talked about Batman and Robin #1. This one goes more in depth, though. Both books echoing each other, though, is what I really like, and kudos to editorial and creative teams for handling that so well, because I think it's really important that I felt like this is the same guy we're reading in Batman and Robin. Because I needed that, and that's why when you were saying that you had issues with that, it's funny how much I enjoyed this whole experience. And I know you, like you said, I agree with what you're saying. This was really a well-handled issue. That page where we see the panels of Dick slowly breaking down to tears over his father were powerful and some of my favorite. He is a character that's at his best when he's felt the most human and accessible, and they nailed this. You know, it's really an interesting way to get to we're going to get to see his journey to becoming the kind of Batman that you're talking about, and I want to see that. I'm with you. You and I are in sync there. I want to see that, but I want to follow the journey with him. It's funny, at the end of this, I wanted Bruce... We talked about this way back when. What do we want to see out of this? I said I wanted to see Bruce Wayne under the cape and cowl. And arguably, I do want to see that again. But they're really selling me on Dick Grayson right now. I'm enjoying this journey. And it's going to be interesting. I want to see this take some time. And so I'm glad that we're going to have, I'm assuming, at least a year.
We got to have at least a year without it.
Because, we can follow what's going on. Very similar to what's going on in Superman's book. It's very possible that we could see a journey with Bruce Wayne going on while this is still happening.
Yeah,
Bruce Wayne could appear back, but doesn't necessarily need to be Batman yet.
Right, there could be something more.
Right.
Yeah.
We get the reason for the unmarked grave here. Alfred is a true father looking out for his son, and that's so worked. They can't have the same kind of parade and presentation that they would for Barry Allen, for example. He was a media person, the kind of man of the people, that was out there. He was that kind of hero.
Yeah.
Bruce was an enigma. What people believed and constructed in their own minds was just as important as the reality of Batman. The symbol couldn't be lost, and wow, was this spectacular writing.
Yeah, I loved how Alfred just we can't have that. They can't do that. Batman cannot be dead. Mm-hmm. And just reading through those, you're just like, yes, this is further argument for the whole battle for the cowl, for the whole why Dick's got to put on the costume, why he has to be Batman, why he has to have that supernatural element to him, even though he has no supernatural powers, but it's the fear that he injects into the bad guys. That was Batman's biggest strength, was that fear, that he isn't human. And even now, even the bad guys, we're going to see them go, this looks like a different guy. Well, maybe he just regenerated. Yeah. Oh, my God, we killed him, and he just took some time off to regenerate his body. That's probably the same one. Yeah, he's probably got a younger body now. Yeah, I'm betting we're going to see stuff like that where people will think it's the same Batman, just in a younger body through some mystic thing because he's not human.
Hype-wise, this book was overshadowed by the Morrison book, which I thought was spectacular. I really enjoyed that. This is just as important to me and just as well crafted. Very well done. Batman Lives Always, that just says it all. Damian's a loose cannon, walking away mid-conversation, avoiding training with Alfred to do his own thing at Gotham. These are important moments that show us why he needs to be with them. He needs the parenting, he needs the guidance. Great establishing of that as well, adding more depth to what we see in Red Robin. This is, although we see the dark place that Tim is in, we're going to have to discuss that when we talk about Red Robin #1. It is interesting to see that Damian needs to be here in what Dick's trying to do. Damian versus Dr. Phosphorus was fun. In the shadows and from the distance, it would make sense that he would be mistaken for Batman due to the cape. The pants, the boots, and the cape give him a darker appearance in the shadows. It's a more practical costume choice. And don't get me wrong, I adore the Tim Drake version, so I'm not saying that. But I'm glad that Damian got his own look because I want distinction here. I don't want him to just be, trying to fit into Tim Drake's.
He wouldn't be the same. Yeah, he would be himself. He would have his own little tweaks to it, his own style to it.
Tim Drake's costume fits Tim Drake.
Right.
It was the first time I noticed this, but his gloves are pretty vicious looking. He's got those spikes on the end of the gloves that were very cool. Damian's impulsive nature makes him as dangerous as the villains he chastises. Going toe-to-toe with Phosphorus, terrible idea. He's always a character you want to fight from a distance, and Dick's experience pays off there. And it was great to see in this issue why he was wearing the Nightwing costume. It's why it fits so much what you've been feeling about him. He isn't comfortable in the Batman role yet. And this was one for me that I needed to see this issue because I want to get into his head more. I want to understand his reluctance. He feels this is a shroud, which was mentioned, that line was mentioned in Batman and Robin. And this is the issue that explains, again, it's important to make this story unique from Prodigal. He's moving to his own location because he has to stop hiding. He also can't be Bruce. He has to be his own man. And this development, the simple fact that he listens to Alfred. Now, I totally believe that Bruce listened to Alfred, but he's certainly not as accessible to Alfred like Dick is. The partnership in that relationship really geeked me out in this book. I liked seeing the two of them together. I want to see more of that. The Scarecrow closing was basically to interpret what might happen. I'm not sure that if this is going to be dealt with in the book again, like the Scarecrow thing, if we're going to see what happened with that, or if very similar to how Morrison, certain things happened off camera.
Off camera, yeah.
We get that here. I would be totally pleased if we see that next issue. I'm also cool. The powerful ending here was the confidence you were talking about in costume. We do see it at the end of this issue.
Yeah.
And I do think that, I'm not sure concurrently if these stories could fit into each other or something, but I was glad to see that we're seeing him more understanding. I do like the variation to the costume, the different gloves. The Batman gloves are a little bit shorter. They look a little bit more functional. I did like that little change, but that we didn't veer too far off from classic Batman. I like that the belt's a little bit different than Batman that we're used to, but it is about keeping that legacy alive, so you don't want to look drastically different. He's not doing a Jean Paul Valley to the outfit. He's doing slight little subtle tweaks that happen to fit him and his personality, but also make the costume feel more his. That's important to me as well. But it sticks to the core here. He's doing this because what his father created, this legacy, this symbol, is what Gotham needs. And he needs to keep that alive, and he's trying to figure out how he can do that and not be Bruce. And that's a distinction here that I think is really important. It's compelling.
Yeah. Some of the stuff I really digged on it was when the SWAT team's going to storm, and Scarecrow was ready for him with not only the fear toxin, but the fear toxin that eats through their protective suit to get to them. Mm-hmm. But what is, before he goes after Scarecrow, he hits them all with the inoculation so they don't cut their own line. So it's the multiple level of what Batman has to do.
Right.
First thing you got to do is you got to protect the civilians around. You got to protect the police around. Then you go after the villain.
This is why I'm thrilled so far. It's funny, the stuff you were saying in Batman and Robin, I don't disagree with you. So it was a fun conversation for me because even though we had a different feeling at the end of it, what you found as things that made you uneasy were the exact things that I found compelling. So it was an interesting discussion to have with you and just how we had different experiences with it. It's a great book. Can we just jump into Red Robin #1?
Yeah, I'm dying to talk about it.
I think we've been skirting around this one.
Man, come on. I've been dying to talk about Red Robin #1. Now, I'm going to say something, and for me, my Tim Wayne, Red Robin artist will always be Freddie Williams.
Right.
Anytime I pick up a story that has Tim Wayne in it, if it's not Freddie doing the art, I do say, oh man, I wish Freddie was doing it. Now, I love the art team on this, and I thought it was very good, but I do have to say I really wish Freddie was doing the art on this, because there was some great sequences in there that were beautiful artwork that I truly enjoyed, but I just still, in the back of my head, I'm always going to say, man, I wish, Freddie was doing it.
Well, I think, first of all, I totally agree with you, but I'm enjoying so much what Freddie's doing on Final Crisis Aftermath Run, which I don't know if we're going to have time to get to it on this episode, but we've got to talk about it on the next one, because those Final Crisis Aftermath books I'm having a lot of fun with right now. Yeah. Run is one of the ones.
Run is the high point, the high one for me of the ones that we've seen so far.
And the funny part is, Run I was interested in because of the art. I'm enjoying so much the story and the art. Yeah. I thought I was going to be probably the least interested in the story for Run, when to me, it's such a wild, nutty ride.
Yeah, that's an awesome story.
We're getting way off topic. We're going to definitely talk about this book, but it's funny you mentioned Freddie Williams, and that's a great example of a book where I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
good stuff.
And I don't want to sound like I'm knocking the art. I'm not. It's
no, because I like
art. There's
see,
some really cool sequences that, I was like, okay, that's a nice, I got to give praise where praise is due.
Right.
There was a couple intense moments of, Tim, like in the very beginning, the very end, just you see this raw emotional moments from Tim that I was like, man, this is some good stuff. So yeah, I got to give praise where praise is due there.
Yeah, it's the art's done by Ramon Box, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, and it's colored by Guy Major, so that means it looks like this Ramon Box did the
pencils and art, pencils and inks,
right? And then because I like it. I mean, look at that shot.
He's got definitely a very intense look on the face,
and it fits where this character's at,
and it fits where where the character's at, fits where Tim is mentally, physically, what he's going through. So this is all making sense, and it's a beautiful story. It's a great Robin story. It's a great Tim Wayne story, and I especially keep saying Tim Wayne and accentuating Wayne because that is such a strong theme in this issue because from the very initial flashbacks that we see with Tim dealing with the cave with him and Damian's like, you gave him the costume, and you could just see him just so enraged at Dick Grayson because he made Damian Robin, and and Damian's just gonna goad him up, say, calm down, Drake, you've been replaced, and just, my name is Tim Wayne, bam, beautiful punch dropping, just Damian. I love just seeing that rage in him.
I liked the cover by Francis Manapul.
Yes.
Too, who did that wonderful scene that we got to see on the DC preview page, their blog that they're doing right now of Superboy on the farm. He's really nailing some interesting art right now.
Did you get the variant cover? Any of them?
I didn't.
I got the variant cover for Red Robin and the variant cover for Batman.
Did you order them with it? Is that what you did?
Yeah, I ordered both of them.
I wish I did because now that I saw them,
they're beautiful, man.
Yeah, because they were the J.G. Jones covers,
Jones,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. I saw all of them. IGN.com had all of them. Up, and they're really there's not a bad one of the batch.
No. Now, I only got the two because there's a common thread there. Oh yeah, Robin.
yeah, exactly. But I really am enjoying this. It's interesting to see how he saves the girl because it's what's right. And I'm glad that even though Tim is in this dark place, we haven't lost the hero that he is at the core. I think it's why it works so much for me, even though he has clear motivations for being in Madrid, and that this situation of saving the girl is taking him off his intended course, we see the hero shine through. He's naturally irritated. It even costs him when he takes the punch from the cyborg. But that's why it worked for me, because he calls himself on the mistake of that situation. The second he takes that punch, then later on, and he is realizing that he's not acting like, and that's where the Tim Drake, Tim Wayne reference is. I'm not acting like Tim Drake. Tim Wayne. And
My
love
name
those
is Tim
moments.
Wayne. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And just part of the just the story where he's going on where he dons the Red Robin costume, because the name has already been sullied a little bit. It's already a little bit darker.
Protecting the legacy and protecting Bruce and Dick.
Yeah, and in a way, he is also protecting Damian. Yeah. Because Damian is now Robin. He doesn't want to sully the image of Robin. So he's Red Robin, who has already been seen as fighting Robin, who's already been seen as a little bit darker, a little bit, not... he's not one of the good guys, kind of. So I like that. I love. I'll say I love that just because it is his own character. It's his own identity, his own birth. We're seeing a lot of rebirths going on.
I do want to see Tim find his way back to, because I like that we haven't completely lost him here, because I would be really ticked if we did that. He hasn't fallen per se, but he's definitely in a very dark place, feeling very lost at the moment. And I do want, as a part of this journey, us to see him come full circle and grow as a character from this.
And we saw him start to go down the dark path at the end of the Robin run.
Which fits.
And so this is just a continuation of where he was. And so that was something I like, the fact that it's a continuation of the previous story. If you were a Robin fan, you picked up Red Robin, this would fit in. It
We
goes
talked to
exactly
Fabian.
where the last thing.
Fabian
Yeah.
said that he would not have liked to have, if when he did his Robin story, have left him in this place, but he needed to for where this character needed to go. And I do like that this was editorial-wise, he's told, hey, this is where we're going with this character. And he told a great story that led him in this direction. That was a great story when you see now where he's at. He's at a major crossroads. He's trying to define who he is, and more importantly, what he needs to do in this phase of his life. Lost his role as Robin. Lost his partner in Batman, who's also a father figure, when he needed it the most. Imagine knowing something that makes no sense to anyone else, and deep down yourself. Yet there is something nagging at him, some clues he's seeing that no one else is, and he's not even quite sure what they are at the moment. Some feeling that's telling him, I know I am right. And that line keeps coming up. He clings to this. He needs this. He has given up everything for this quest. He's gone to his darkest for this quest. The identity changes internal as well as external. Tim hasn't lost a father once. He lost his mom, then his dad, then his adopted father. Each time his life changed in major ways. He is without a sense of belonging at the moment. What earth are we on that you choose him over me?
I know. And here's the thing. When you're talking about the father figure, he lost, his father, mother, father, again, but he also lost his big brother. There's a lot of sequences where they showed, Dick Grayson and Tim Wayne just together. They were brothers. And, I love some of those sequences when, Tim jumps into the Batjet in some of those Nightwing issues where he's like, Tim, you forgot something? Oh, yeah, my costume. Yeah. It was just that, fun loving, just, big brother type mindset. And when we initially.
And I love that. Yeah. That relationship is a very important one to me. And I'm fine with them being here right now, but I want to see that come back.
Oh, yeah. So he's got a lot that he's lost, and that's just compounds on all his friends, all his loves, all his support, his structure is gone. He's got nothing now.
And so this is very true to what a loss of a dad can do to a family, though. That's what I like about this. It's a very real exploration of what that could be like. What'll happen when Dad comes back? How will
they deal
will
with
they
it?
come together before that? It's entirely possible. Who knows? We have that Batgirl costume available. Bit was really funny. Yeah. I do like Damian.
Yeah, I gotta say that. He's a little bit of a little son of a.
If you had told me when Damian first came out that this was going to happen, I would have said, please no. Please no. I do like it right now, I gotta say, which I never expected. Dick's reasoning makes sense, but it does have a major emotional effect on Tim, who's already feeling lost. But I don't think Dick wanted it this way. Because you can even, when he's pleading with Tim, I felt like he was hoping that Tim would help him and support him in a different way. I don't think Dick wanted to shun him the way that Tim felt he was being shunned.
Right, oh, definitely. I think Dick, in his mindset, he was thinking that he would have the Bruce role, Tim would have the Nightwing type, Dick Grayson. Yes. He would be, Damian's big brother. He would be Damian's support, the
way that he always wanted to support Bruce, I think, and to be that. He was kind of hoping that relationship that he wished he would have had with Bruce, maybe could have continued with Tim, and they would have been partners, true partners, in a way, and equals in a way that Damian can't be.
Right, and I think that's what in Nightwing's mind when he first did this.
But Tim wasn't ready to handle that.
No, well, Tim's got so much. The dude's had anybody he's loved has died.
Sure.
So there's a lot of pain going on there, and you always look at the list of people that he's cared about have gone away from him, and you're just you feel for the guy, and it's just, he's reached a final point. This is it. He had this final snapping moment.
I'm glad this is a Tim Wayne book though, because I love this character.
Yeah.
This is a character who needs to have his own title. And this is another one of those that, for me, it's up there with the other two books that we've already talked about.
Yeah, it's still...
It's just a great read. It further develops a character that I really want to read about. I love that it's him going after Bruce.
Yeah.
I don't know what that journey is going to look like, if he's going to find him, but if there's one guy that could, I do think it's him. More so than Dick, even. I do think the distinction between the two characters, I think this is the right guy to try and find him.
He's a better detective.
I think
he is
so, too.
a much better detective than Tim is.
No, than Dick is.
You know what I meant.
I know what you meant.
You know what I meant. I'm all bamboozles.
Wayne Manor has the appearance of being empty, and I do love the art here on this one. not of items, but empty of life that it usually seems to have. The death of its owner was reflected here in the tone, and the atmosphere fits the lonely nature of Tim at the moment. This is one, for me, the artwork really was sharp in this book. I really enjoyed that loneliness, that, It matched the script and what was going on with him. The building he was in felt that. Tim has been Robin since A Lonely Place of Dying. No matter what has happened, that was something he could always rely on. All of the tragedies in his life, the one consistent he's been Robin. Bruce being there, something he was always able to rely on through all of this, since Lonely Place of Dying. Now Dick has to be responsible for Damien, which takes away, that time for him. An interesting period of growth and transition for this character. They have to be very careful how they handle this. He's a very important character. So I am really enjoying the journey so far, but I'm commending Chris Yost. He's done a lot of work over at Marvel. What he's doing right here with this character, nice.
Oh, definitely. Definitely got to say, this is a great, Tim Wayne story. I am eating it up.
It's interesting to see that from Spain to Paris to Czechoslovakia with some kind of bug thing taking out the killer. At least that's what I'm guessing from the eyes of the character. Is that what you took it as?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was in the shadows. But we will see Tim travel around the world in search of clues to what happened to Bruce. From killings to assassination, this will lead him to new foes and situations that will sidetrack him from his goal. The different venues give a real sense of adventure to this book, and that I was digging.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they don't really know who he is and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one knows what they're up against here. This isn't Gotham
And I think
City.
even if he was dressed as Robin, they would have been that issue. Because this is a new venue. I love the backflip off the motorcycle to using the modified staff to take out the car. That visual sequence was very pleasing to me. More important was his reasons for becoming Red Robin, like you've said. I loved that protecting the legacy. It is interesting to me that presently the search is an act of faith. Because he has I don't see any clues
he has
other than just a gut.
He's got this gut feeling inside him that is telling him that Bruce is alive. And, part of an investigation, part of a detective work is to trust your gut instinct. You have some of the guys who have just been there, who've done this so long, they subconsciously see a clue.
Yeah.
And they don't, they call it their gut instinct, but in truth, it is, they've seen something, they don't remember seeing it. As I said, it's a subconscious. They're looking at it and they're going to slowly flesh this thing out. And you got to just go with the clues and you start building on the case. And you see Tim starting to do that. He's got the initial realization, Bruce is alive. I know I am correct. And that's the basis, the initial starting point of his investigation. He's got to go beyond that now.
I like that he's questioning himself, but that his own need drives him on, and I like that distinction here. He knows how he's being viewed by others, as he still needs to get over his grief, he's holding on and all that stuff, but still keeps searching. It, again, feels very real, like that would be a real question. I like that he's just not blindly doing this. He knows that it's not rational.
Yeah.
Yet he has to be right. He needs him. And that is an interesting part of this whole thing. It's even better because we had the carrot dangled in front of us that we still don't completely understand when it comes to, because what we've seen so far that lets us believe that Bruce is alive is, where is Bruce Wayne or when?
Yeah, the whole when is the key word there, because he looked like that was
It looked like it was in the past. I'm not sure. But I'm still not sure. So who knows? Ra's al Ghul, helping Tim or hunting Tim? Does he want to resurrect Bruce? Will he help Tim when Tim says Bruce is alive? It's interesting as I could see the relationship becoming cooperative or adversarial or a combination of the two for a variety of reasons and motivations. Again, like we've talked about with some of these other Batman issues so far, there's a lot of possibilities. Superman, a lot of possibilities at the moment. This is great. Wonder Woman, we talked about the relationships with the Amazons and the Olympians. I love all these open possibilities that make us think between issues.
Here's a big thing with me and Ra's al Ghul. You've seen Tim almost side with Ra's.
Oh yeah,
he's been tempted by the the Lazarus pits.
And would he be tempted again?
Will he be tempted again? Because he almost completely. It was Dick who basically talked him down from that.
Right.
So that's a huge thing right there. I think it's going to be Ra's trying to, he knows either Bruce is dead and going to use Tim as the next Bruce. in his army, or maybe it's, I don't know. You never know with Ra's al Ghul. That's the cool thing about using that villain. You never know what he's going to do. So yeah, this is one where I'm glued at the, just glued to it, chomping at the bit for the next issue.
Another one that I think was lost a little bit in the hype and turned out to be a great
lost. This was big time lost. And
I'm not knocking Batman and Robin when I'm saying that. What I'm saying is these other books, Batman and now Red Robin, and I'll say right ahead of time, I felt the same way with Streets of Gotham.
Oh, God.
All these books I thought was just a very even keel. It's why I'm so Batman happy at the moment. We've been having this with Superman.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Battle for the Cowl. I thought it was a great event. It was wonderful. I was hoping spinning out of that it would lead to this because I enjoyed because it was clear the journey was setting this type of world up, which was what was great about Battle for the Cowl because I loved Azrael. I'm excited Azrael's getting a series. I didn't think it was going to be announced so soon. I'm thrilled that we're going to get to follow that unique character.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be somebody that I'll talk about him more when I get into Manhunter, which is going to be, I think there's some clear reasons to talk about Azrael during that. But it's really interesting, this Gotham that's being crafted spinning out of all this. And I'm compelled and excited.
And I just want to make this 100% certain that everybody knows that when I say I'm not chomping at the bit for Batman and Robin, there's no hesitation in my mind to pick up issue 2 or read it.
That, yeah.
I'm just, you hear the excitement in my voice as I'm talking about Red Robin. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. I used to get that from every single Bat title. I got that where I was like, yeah, I can't wait. Oh my God. I don't have that for that one title. I have it for Batman. I'm really looking forward to Detective. I have it for the Streets of Gotham. I read Robin. I'm like, so there's that excitement.
But that's the one out of the batch
that's
so far
the one for some
that.
reason I don't have that.
I'd be curious to talk about issue 2 with you. See if that journey stays the same or if it doesn't. It's any comic, and that is one of the things. It's one of the reasons why during Wonder Woman I went on my little tirade about we don't have to always agree on all the same books. Not just you and me. I'm talking about the listeners as well. I don't feel the point of our show is, hey, you as listeners need to listen to us, and this is what we feel is awesome, and you have to agree. Countdown, nobody agreed with us.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. There's listeners who came forward. And
there was 5 or 6 people out there who agreed with us. But most people.
And we love you, brave few.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing.
I still stand behind everything I said about Countdown.
Yeah, and
my one part with Countdown that I regret is that the ending of it didn't tie into Final Crisis because I liked it.
And it's funny with me and Countdown. As time goes on, I'm less defensive of it because I'm less angry as more and more stuff are taken out of continuity. I go.
What?
And I'm like, at the time I read it and I loved it, but now it's being taken out of continuity. So I'm like, it's kind of like, it's that you dated someone and you thought it was something special and you find out later she's like, you were just a thing. You were nothing to me.
But see, that's actually a terrific analogy though, because here's where it works for me. And I still to this day will defend it. Because at the time, when I was dating her, I was having fun. Looking back on that relationship, it's nice that it's over now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I really had a good time. So I don't take back anything I said about it, and I still defend that. I enjoyed the ride every bit. But that's actually a fantastic analogy, because in retrospect, because it didn't, storytelling-wise, it veered off.
You're a nice guy. I'm vindictive. So
I'm not.
If someone breaks my heart, I'm like, you.
Yeah.
So
I get sad when relationships end and it isn't amicable. Unfortunately, the thing with life doesn't.
You mean relationships can end amicably? Wow.
Most with a preference on
mine. Usually end with whoa, duck, dodge.
Most of mine have ended. I've been very lucky. Most of mine have ended very amicably. That's not always the case, but
things happen.
Such is life. But it is. It is fun. It's an interesting analogy for the whole thing. But yeah, so far, I mean, we'll talk. Hopefully, a little bit later, we'll have time to talk about Streets of Gotham before we end this. All right, Jim.
Let's just jump right in there.
Do it. Streets of Gotham #1. Let's talk about it with the co-feature Manhunter, which is good because I do want to talk about a co-feature book, and I was hoping we'd get one on this episode. I don't know if we're going to get to Booster Gold, but I definitely want to talk about Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. This was a book I was curious about because I had no idea this would be a Batman book or something more Gotham Central. I was with you. I was thinking that's more what this was going to be. I was really surprised that this was another gritty presentation that worked. The funny part was that the tone and focus really matches having Manhunter as a co-feature for it.
Oh, big time. And
Paul Dini, really good on this one.
Yeah, I know. It was one of the weird things. I'm going to throw a stupid bone out there, let you all see. I forgot that this was a co-feature, even though it says co-feature on the cover. As I was reading it, the Manhunter read-through just kind of naturally, for me, was such a fitting that...
Both teams, congratulations.
I was just like, it just flowed. And I was like, wait, oh yeah, this is a co-feature. I literally was a couple pages into the co-feature, and then it dawned on me
that Manhunter was part of this.
Part of these streets of Gotham. So she so perfectly fits, so that's just a huge kudos to art team, to editorial, of course, to the wonderful writing that is there.
Well, it's the old Detective Comics team on this book, which is great, because I've really liked that run, so I'm glad to see them back together on this book. Jim Gordon is in his own way protecting the legacy, and this was interesting to see this, how much this tied into the other two books and what I liked so much. This is there's no way that this man at this stage doesn't know that somebody different's under the cowl.
Yeah.
Jim Gordon's just too smart for that. He might even, I'll be honest with you, he might even suspect it's Nightwing. But he's playing dumb because he has seen firsthand that for control to be maintained in this fragile community, the symbol needs to be in place. He just went through this in Battle for the Cowl. They were calling for his head. I think he longs for a day, like Batman, where it's no longer needed. But I loved getting inside his head a bit and seeing him part of Team Batman without maybe even realizing it, just realizing the same thing that the others did. Gotta love Harley. It would make sense that running around with large amounts of cash and considering her history, that people would naturally assume up to no good.
Yeah.
The harsh reality is that the events for Battle for the Cowl mean that small disturbances like this need to be ignored. There's nowhere to house her. I was glad that they didn't immediately say that everything's up and running 100%, since what happened would take the explosions, things destroyed, would take time to resolve. While Gordon lets her walk, Dick makes it clear that she needs to watch herself and her choices. And when I saw him there, I'm like, wait a minute. Is this another Batman? Because it does say Batman Streets of Gotham. I guess I was always assuming, though, this wasn't going to directly be, and I love this.
That completely caught me off guard, completely threw me when I saw him there. And I'll tell you, that I heard the Bat voice. I heard him when he's talking. I heard him have the raspy, voice, and that was what I was missing in Batman and Robin. I never
think
had
that's
that.
Part of this whole. See, that's what this whole journey this month has been for me.
Yeah,
has been the only thing I would probably have done differently is release Batman before Batman and Robin, exactly like Mandy had mentioned, and I think this would have flowed really nice because it really was. I loved all these issues. Nice reveal that the villain community is assuming Batman's dead. Dick warns her to get out of Dodge if she knows what's good for her, and Damian threatens to cut out her tongue. It's intimidation, and he's willing to let him use that. Although I think Damian was a little bit more serious. He was willing. I did like that while stopping Damian there, he didn't reprimand him in front of Harley. It was an important distinction for me there that really worked in this book. He's going to have to be careful when he teaches his partner, because the villains need to be assured that this is not only Batman, but that partnership is solid. I wonder if they're going to notice the difference. Which villains will note that there's someone new under the cowl? Will Tommy Elliott reveal it? I don't know. It's interesting. The 12-year-old Katie bit was really creepy, especially her internal dialogue, trying to shut herself off. Very real. That's what made it so creepy. It was great
my God,
writing.
Dude.
Great writing there.
I seriously was just like, and it was one of those things where that is just child abuse is just something that if you're breathing and you're an actual person, it has some type of reaction to you. You can't not see a story and not have some type of reaction to you. And it's just one of those things where you're just like, oh my God. And I was literally, I want to say I was in shock, but I wasn't. And then it was just the way it was handled. There was emotional reaction on my part when I was reading it, and I so wanted to reach in there and kill those people. Yeah. There was such rage and violence when I'm thinking of this sweet little girl, what she's going through, that I wanted to see a vicious, violent, painful death. to the bad guys.
I wonder if the Buse guy, do you remember seeing him anywhere before?
I don't remember, and I was going to ask you.
For some reason. But yet, there's part of me thinking this guy is totally original for this. I don't know. I don't know why I felt like I'd seen something like that before, but I liked him. I mean, I'm interested to see more.
Something in the back of my head, and I don't even know if
I could be
this was
connecting to somebody else.
but there wasn't there? I think it was a Batman who. Of one of he was one of those quasi villains who he was only going after the bad guys, and when he killed them, he'd mark right in blood, they did this or did that or something like that.
I don't know.
I'm remembering a story.
One of the three you're thinking?
What?
One of the three you're thinking?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a Batman villain. But it was like an older Batman story that so Batman had to take the guy down because he crossed the line. It was one of those stories where Batman talks about you can't cross the line because the guy was killing the villains, and then he would mark them for what they did. And I could be even thinking of a serial killer TV show or movie.
You're not good cop, bad cop, are you?
I don't know.
All right, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember.
I'm remembering what you're saying. I can't place the story. I mean, I'm definitely connecting with what you're saying. I just can't remember what storyline it was. That's pretty cool. I don't know.
It could be that, or he could be a completely new person. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is a cool add-on to the, addition to the villains and whatnot. I'm curious to see what they do with this guy.
I liked the Black Mask twist of poisoning the criminals, so they're under his control. It's an interesting plot line, especially during the bits where we see characters like Firefly, who can't wait to turn on Black Mask. And I'm curious to see the deeper reveal of who Black Mask actually is.
Yeah.
Because is it him? Is it somebody else? I don't know. His view of Gotham, and I'm talking about Firefly, is that there's nothing to save. It should just be cremated. His solution for the city fitting his M.O. The writing here is really tight. I think out of the first three releases, this one surprised me the most because it was totally under my radar. The decision making for these books to explore each explore Batman in a different way really smart, because I found all three of them to be awesome experiences that somehow painted a more interesting picture of Batman and his relationship to Gotham with their different viewpoints. To me, this is how you launch a new character out of the cowl. Because I felt like after reading all three of these now, I really understand what Dick Grayson is all about as Batman.
Yeah, who he is.
And I want to keep following that.
Now, I really liked how they're stepping up Firefly. They're making him a little bit tougher. He's not a B-lister joke of a villain anymore. This is some nasty stuff he does. It's injecting various people across the city with this entity, this whatever toxin, whatever he put in, that caused them to burst into flames. That's a pretty nasty thing going on.
Yeah, those chips.
Yeah.
The chips that were in the head. Tommy Elliott and Damian is a side story I'm really curious about. What will their relationship be when Tommy escapes? He's very dangerous because he can get inside Damian's head, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if, Damian's immediately against him, or if, I don't know.
But yeah, who knows? And that is a character that, Hush is just a very interesting person. I want to see more with him, and I'm glad to see how we're getting these little snippets with Damian just talking to him, and Elliot had him dead to rights. Like, you want FaceTime with someone who looks like your father. Damian's getting the father figure type interaction with Dick Grayson, even though he still doesn't really admit it, but he's getting it, and now he's getting the visual stuff from Elliot. So it's I did like that his first instinct was to stop playing chess when the news report came on. Right.
He didn't waste any time. He just left.
Yeah.
And I loved that. It was the spontaneous combustion just led him to go. The chip in the head, with today's technology and how small everything is, very contemporary. The message left for Batman of the burning bat symbol was a very cool message. Batman, get up here. You don't want to see this. That type of thing. Now, do you take it the people are dead that get ignited, even with Dick using that stuff, that goo, to put them out?
Well, the people he hit with the goo, I think, maybe have just the second and third degree burns on 90% of their body. So, if you consider that alive, then they're probably fine.
Was that to prevent harm to others?
I think that was to extinguish the flame and prevent harm from others.
Okay.
To others. So that was a quick way to put them out. So I think he got to those people in time, but they're still pretty nasty.
Yeah, and
so
being that they were so ignited, they could actually do property damage and hurt other people even more than if they were shot. They would still be on fire because of the way that they combusted. So it's interesting. it was really cool. Let's talk about Manhunter.
Yeah.
The artwork for Manhunter was fantastic. It's the same as we've seen in the Buffy comic from Dark Horse. I don't know if you put the connection there. It's the same artist.
I did.
It translates really well to Kate's world. I really enjoyed that. All the rain does here is make the city bathe in a stew of its own filth. Just that, the opening acrobatic sequence, very sharp. This is a great jumping on point for readers who've never read a Manhunter story, and I hope a new audience will see how cool this character really is and maybe give a shot to the trade paperbacks that are out there, because it's a great book. Someone has to protect the innocent and avenge the dead. Kate is not Batman. She crosses lines that he won't. I actually would be interested to see some interactions between her and our good friend Mr. Azrael, because I thought that was interesting. Do you think they would butt heads, or do you think they'd get along?
I'm thinking we're going to see a kind of an association there, because they both have very similar MOs. They both have very similar mindsets in their ways of dealing with the villains. So, but I think we're going to see a little bit of a shift in Kate. And the part of the thing we're going to see is because of she has the DA ties now. She's going, and it's that whole, you got to watch the line you cross. When you're the DA, you're going after them. And just because you miss out and you lose a case, do you go and kill them as Manhunter? Or do you go sick Azrael on them? You can't. You got to have trust and faith in the law. And that's conflict I think we're going to see from her. Because, there's things you do as a mask, things you do as the DA. And if you fail to take down a bad guy as the DA, do you have right to put on the mask and then finish him off? I don't know. That's the moral question she's gonna ask herself, because, yes, on a way you're like, this is a bad guy. This is a villain. This is a monster. But do you have faith in the law? And when you are law enforcement, when you are, the lawyers, the DAs, the prosecutors, the judges, you have to have that underlying faith in the law. If you don't, then, you shouldn't be in that job.
This leads to a flashback of the death of the DA from Battle from the Cowl. Well, his funeral, at least. And Barbara and Kate have an interesting moment here. She feels Kate will be a good fit because she will make sure to get the kind of justice a character like the Joker deserves to get handed out. Now, what do you think Babs meant by that? Death penalty? He probably isn't serving life sentences because he's insane, right? He's been in Arkham. Yeah. So do you think maybe she means that he should be getting now a life sentence? What do you think Barbara meant by that?
I don't know. That's a tough thing. Now, does Kate know that Barbara is Oracle? Does she 100% know? Okay, yes. I didn't know if she always... I wasn't 100% certain that she knew that Barbara was Oracle, or thought Barbara was an agent of Oracle.
No, she knows that Barbara's
Oracle. So that puts the whole nother twist on it as well, where... Because, I don't know. Part of me, when I first read it, I thought Barbara was giving her the okay to kill people. But then I'm like, no, is she thinking that the DA...
I thought she meant as DA.
She's not going to let them get off on criminally insane.
Right.
And in the end, that's how I went with it. In the end, that's what Barbara... But I did see that as very interesting. Or even
like crime bosses and things like that get away with, she's going to prosecute everybody she possibly can. She's not going to be afraid to do it.
Yeah, but also it's, she's also thinking because, she's not going to have any fear for her life. She's not going to be approachable. They're not going to be able to buy her support. So she's going after the crime boss. But I think it was more of a direction towards the meta villains, or the crazy villains, the villains that are out there in Gotham that are these repeat villains who are getting away with it on the grounds that they're insane. I think we're going to see Kate maybe put some of these guys not in Arkham, but put some of them in prisons, and maybe we'll even see a death penalty, case going for a capital punishment against, someone like the Joker. I think you got the grounds for it, but
sure.
You have that whole he's not of his right mind. It's been proven he's insane. Well, is he insane, or is he just insane, smart like, crazy like a fox? Does he know that because he's insane he can get away with this? Or is he truly insane, and because he's truly insane he does this? That's the question. I think Kate's going to pursue the angle, screw it. He's not, insane. He is actually accountable, and he should stand up and be charged with what he has actually done. And I think that's, in the end, what I think Barbara meant.
The moment of awe she had with Jim Gordon was fantastic. He would be a hero in law enforcement, and I've felt like that at conventions, where you're just like, oh, this is great. It was great to connect with her on that level. Was glad Jim asked her how they knew each other. Some fast tap dancing by Babs, and I liked that Kate in her head was, respectful of that. I am so convinced that deep down Dad knows something's up. We've been talking about that, but I like
he's got to just turn the other cheek and just turn the blind eye.
Well, just like he did with Batman in the beginning.
Yeah, I would love for a story where, Gordon reveals that he's known all along that Bruce Wayne was Batman, that, he's known the entire secrets of all of them along. I would love for just even like an annual story that's like they write it, 50 years in the future.
No Man's Land?
Yes. And I remember the scene where, Bruce drops the mask and he's like, if I wanted to know, I would know. I know that whole sequence.
Even if he but here's what I'm saying. Even if he subconsciously knows, I think he denies it from himself because it would be a line that he would have to cross. So I think he tries to avoid that. So I agree with you. I'm with you in the sense that I think Jim Gordon is a good enough cop and he knows Batman so well that he may already suspect. But I think he is his own roadblock there.
Yeah, it could be. But I don't know. Part of me just would like to see that story where, there's that acknowledgement that, yes, he knew all along all of this stuff.
Right.
Yeah, maybe like one of those he's sitting they show him on his deathbed, and Batman swoops in and he just looks at him and goes, Bruce. Or
I don't want to see him on his deathbed, though.
Yeah, well, I don't want to.
See, I'm with you, though, that I wouldn't mind seeing a title that explores the DC universe in real time. I'd like to see one book that does it, and you can kind of do little arcs that, what would Batman be like in the future? What would this be like? And you can kind of explore that. I don't know. She's investigating the hit on the former DA. Willie's kid as a reason for the flashback was some great writing. Kate would have to consider the dangers of bringing her son to Gotham. It'd be interesting to see her try to balance her life with the demands of this insane city and what that will bring to her. And I love that he was playing with a classic Batmobile.
Yeah.
That was a cool little bit. Her speech was incredible. I am throwing down the gauntlet. The criminals of Gotham, be it petty thieves or crime bosses, or Arkham's scariest escapees, be warned. We are not afraid of you. You should be afraid of us. It reminds me of what I liked about Harvey Dent in Dark Knight.
Yeah.
This will bring danger to her. It'll be interesting to see what that will look like. Will Ramsey be at risk? Who is Jane Doe? Very solid first offering in the second feature. Bravo for bringing these back, as I've truly missed Manhunter, and I loved how this felt like it connected spiritually, or in echoes with the title that it's connected with. This, to me, I love these second features. This is a great example of why. What a great book. So for me, it's amen.
I know, amen.
Features.
Yeah, hoorah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, and let's talk real quick, because we've had this and Blue Beetle so far as these co-features. Out of the starting gate, I am a big fan of these.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm getting more of a story, and I'm getting, that little extra, especially, see, Blue Beetle, the Blue Beetle inside the Booster Gold, for me, had a different feel than this one. That one felt like two stories in one book. This one felt like one larger story because she's so fit the streets of Gotham type thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we get our first Green Arrow, Black Canary, it'll have that same type of feel where it's just an extended story because the characters...
Or they could be separate stories that will eventually connect.
Right, or right. I would get that feeling from them because those characters are so interconnected. Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, they have a history together, but the two characters aren't connected. I don't ever expect to see those two working together in the co-features. I look at it as more bang for my buck.
Except for the Black Beetle having a relationship with both. There is a reason for the two to be interconnected.
There could be.
And when this Blue Beetle was introduced, who was the first hero that really he teamed up with? Booster Gold.
So, I'm not saying it couldn't.
There's a rich history with these two.
There's a history, but I don't see it as readily as I see with Streets of Gotham and Manhunter or Green Arrow, Black Canary. I don't see.
And I kind of like the distinction and differences, though, because I don't want these co-features to all feel the same.
Exactly. We're in a complete agreement. For me, it's more bang for the buck, and that was a good Jaime story. That was a good Blue Beetle story. I picked it up. I was like I was reading the series all over again. I liked what I was reading. I was like, this is sweet.
I'm just my biggest worry right now is I think we just talked about right now a whole bunch of top quality product. I'm worried that by increasing the price point in a tough economic time, that people who might potentially be drawn in by the hype might not pick it up because of the price point.
Right.
It's 4 books at retail right now at $3.99 a crack, and I think I saw this on the forums. I tend to read as many of the forum posts as I can because I like to see what people's commentary is. That's $16. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Now, I'm already enjoying the product, so for me, that's money well spent. So I'm not, well, but again, I'm also doing through mail order, and but I'll be honest with you, in the shop, I would probably be getting less titles. Not probably, I definitely would be, because I couldn't afford what I'm getting right now in the shop. But, that would be affecting me with less titles, but I would still feel like it's money well spent.
You want to hear something funny? Mm-hmm. Remember back when we first started this whole thing?
I do.
And I was, mostly borrowing from you. Then I started my own pull list. Mm-hmm. The very first budget that I had set for myself was $20 a month.
Right.
So that's, right there. That's 4 titles.
Right.
Done.
Right.
My budget, so, forget top 5. So that's huge. Just thinking about that now.
That's funny. You're right. You can't do a top 5 for under $20.
Yeah. That's
if you're getting
those titles, right. You can't.
Right.
So
that's remember there's tax involved as well. Right. So that's interesting. Wow.
He is called Hawkman. His gauntlets possess awesome powers.
They do, Jim. His gauntlets possess awesome powers. It's a great example of Jim and I being really ambitious today. We'd intend because I wanted to go back to you because you have a lot of Superman notes, and you said we're on such a Batman roll. Let's go ahead and finish up these Batman books, right? Because I know you wanted to talk about Red Robin too when we were talking about it. But we're going to continue our Superman discussion on our next episode, along with continuing our long Halloween discussion. Yeah. And we have so many other books that I want to talk about.
We got some Green Lantern stuff I want to talk about.
Secret Six I want to talk about. Yeah. I want to talk about Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. Yeah. JSA versus Cobra, number 1 I want to talk about.
JSA title.
I want to talk about, the Jerry Ordway issue was very good with our friend Bob Wyachek.
I noticed that.
Yeah,
I was like,
it was
cool.
Very cool. I want to talk a little bit about the weekly series in general, just Trinity, and how excited that's got me for Wednesday's comics, which looks like everything I've seen about it looks almost like a newspaper. And did you see that USA Today is going to have the Superman feature from Wednesday's comics in there?
Oh, cool.
It's going to be coming out at the same time. But so we got a lot of stuff. There's always way too much stuff to talk about. So we got definitely more to discuss as we go on. But let's get to some listener voicemails. I know we've got a couple of them that I wanted to get to before we wrap up this episode. Because for you and I, it's 10 o'clock right now, and I want to get to this real quick before we wrap up.
Hey, Raging Bullets crew. It's Ian from Comic Dining. Yeah, I'm sure you know the voice by now because it seems like I call every week these days. But I just wanted to make a quick comment on an issue that I finally got a chance to read. Came out about 3 weeks ago or something like that. That would be the Brave and the Bold issue featuring Booster Gold and Magog. Now, I love the issue, okay? It's by the regular Booster Gold team of Jurgens and Ratman, with Jurgens on art and writing. But my main issue with it is that it didn't really feel like a Brave and the Bold. Magog was a central part of it, sure. But my problem with the entire scenario is that it feels like it was something that was a bit more integral to a Booster Gold arc that will be forthcoming in the Booster Gold book, as opposed to it being a Brave and the Bold issue per se. Now, I don't know what you guys think about it, but I think that they might have actually dropped the ball a little bit here, because what about the Booster Gold fans that don't pick up Brave and the Bold on a regular basis and might be missing this issue? Because I think it would have fit right in with perhaps a Booster Gold annual or something like that. I'll give the example because, Action Comics annual just came out, so it's obviously annual season in the world of DC. So why not have this, the Booster Gold annual, so you have an extra story out there, just featuring Magog with Booster Gold, and, go with that. Anyway, I I did enjoy the issue, so that's not the negative I'm going here. I'm just saying they might have been, at fault a little bit for putting this as a Brave and the Bold. Just wanted to let you guys know, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
It's funny that he mentions that. Honestly, I can agree with what he's saying in the sense that it didn't necessarily feel like a normal Brave and the Bold, except for the fact that it really was, it was meant to spotlight those two characters. I think there's two purposes to that particular issue. One would be that Magog's getting his own solo series. Two, it's a great way to interest people who maybe read Brave and the Bold into Booster Gold.
Right.
But the real issue here is Straczynski's supposed to be taking over Brave and the Bold. I think originally that was supposed to be a way to introduce the Red Circle characters. So I think they ran into a problem where what they intended on doing with Brave and the Bold drastically changed. So they needed to come up with some opportunities. Like the issue that we have right now with Static and
Black Lightning.
Lightning is another creative team, which was another issue that I really enjoyed. But it's clear, I think a couple of these issues are what you'd call fill-in issues, which you get on titles. And I think it's really because we're shifting. I know Straczynski's have been solicited now. Straczynski's going to be taking over Brave and the Bold and handling that book from here on out. But it's no longer going to be the book that introduces the Red Circle characters. It's going to be actually true Brave and the Bold that he's talking about. So I think that's really what the case here is. I agree with him. I enjoyed the issue quite a bit. Yeah, I agree with him. It did feel like a Booster Gold annual, which is, I think that's good for people who aren't reading Booster Gold. He has a good point. It would be annoying for somebody who's saying, I only read Booster Gold, now I've got to pick up. But I think if you're a Booster Gold fan, you got 2 Booster Gold issues in a month.
Yeah, I think
some Booster Gold fans would find it as a plus. Some would be annoyed, though. I can see his point.
Oh, yeah, there'll be some people out there who would find it annoying. And I got to tell you, I in a way, I do kind of agree with him that it really did feel like a Booster Gold issue. But then, as I started reading, I kind of liked the fact that we had 2 heroes who weren't all buddy-buddy chummy with each other.
Yeah.
Booster really doesn't like Magog. Sees him as a bad guy. Sees him because he knows the future, what Magog's going to do. And so I'm like, okay, is he seeing the Kingdom Come Magog? Is he seeing something else that this guy is going to do? What's up with this? So for me, that was something I really liked, the fact that it wasn't a good job chum
and
type.
Rip Hunter even says you can't do anything now because Magog does a lot of good before things head down that path.
Right.
So it's interesting.
What path does he head down?
I love that he has this looming ominous problem coming down the road, even with the fact that he's been part of the JSA. That could it does make things really interesting for his solo series when it comes out. I thought it was a great issue. I really liked it. So I don't know. I thought it was playing around with the Brave and the Bold. It was a team up between these two characters, so it fits the Brave and the Bold concept of having one hero teaming up with another, or one team teaming up with another team. So that kind of worked out here. So I don't know, but it definitely I would agree. But I would think on the average, if you're a diehard Booster Gold fan, to be able to have 2 really good Booster Gold offerings in a month, I don't think if it was I think you know what, it's to answer it this way, it's a lot less of a problem if they're good issues than if they're not. And I agree with him, it was a good issue. So I think that's where it becomes the case. With budgets, it's always a hard part because, like we said, comics are expensive. This one, at least, this is before the new price point. So that's that's an interesting point.
Hey, Sean and Jim, this is Scott in Simpsonville again. I'm actually at the Heroes Con, and I'm getting ready to go into the DC panel. So I will try to shoot you guys some news, probably tonight or maybe in the morning sometime, to let you know what they're talking about. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
I actually want to say that's a really nice thing because anytime you're at a con, please feel free to call in. I wish I could go to every convention around.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately we can't do that. And if you happen to be hitting a con and you have the opportunity to give us a call or send us an email, or if you want to pop on the show, there's times during the week where for convention things, I can pop on and meet somebody on Skype. And it could be just me and them just talking real quick about the con. It doesn't have to be like a full-blown thing with you and me and that type of thing for a quick little con snippet. I'd love to get more information from people, what the cons are like around the country and around the world. There's a lot of our friends, talk about big cons in the UK. We've got our friends with cons in Canada. I know in Australia, we got our friend Damien Smith from Lord Shaper from Cryptographic, who always does something for us from that particular con. I love hearing what cons are like elsewhere. So if you got a con and you want to come on the show to chat about it real quick, I'd love to hear that. Whether it's a big, huge con or if it's small community con, because people are always who listen. I know I like to know if I'm going to travel to a con or if I'm going to drive to a con. I like to know, what is it like? Is it worth my effort to even go there? And a lot of times those little tidbits of what that convention experience was like and what you liked about the con is really helpful. So thanks so much for doing that.
Hey, Sean and Jim, this is Scott again from Simpsonville. Just got back from the Heroes Con. It was really, really good convention. It was really not that crowded, but it was still a whole lot of fun, a lot of good creators there. DC Nation panel was very interesting. The main topic of conversation that everybody wanted to talk about was, of course, Blackest Night. And most of the fans wanted to know, is it being overhyped? Is it going to really be as good as it looks and sounds like it's going to be? And, of course, everyone said yes. Let's see, the panel was Jamal Igle, Brian Cunningham, Ian Sattler, and Dustin, I know I'm butchering his name, Guin.
Dustin Wen.
Who, of course, you know who Jamal is with Supergirl, and Dustin does the Streets of Gotham, and Ian Sattler, I believe, was like the senior story editor, and Brian Cunningham was an editor. But they were just going on and on and on about Blackest Night, and they have all read it, and they've all seen the first issue, and just how unbelievable it is, how emotionally gut-wrenching it is, and they just said they just couldn't wait for the fans to get their hands on it. A lot of fans, were saying, is the point of this book just to bring back a bunch of DC characters? And they said that's not the point. And they really wouldn't go into a lot of detail, but they just kept saying again and again and again that we wouldn't be disappointed. A fan asked, were there any plans for Aquaman, that they wanted to really see Aquaman brought back into the fold? And Ian said, well, if we can stop him from eating hearts in Blackest Night, then maybe we can do something with him. So that got a laugh. I'm kind of going off the top of my head here. I didn't have a pen or a pencil when I went in, so it may sound a little disorganized. Streets of Gotham, they were talking about Streets of Gotham. They said that something would happen at the end of the second issue of Streets of Gotham that would make Hush one of the great villains of the DC universe, and it would I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? It would increase his visibility in the DC universe and increase his stock as a major villain in the DC universe. That's all the detail they would give us with that. They talked about Supergirl, how there were big plans for Supergirl in the works, that something would happen on the last page of World of Krypton number 5 that would set in motion the next crossover between the books. And I think it was called Codename Patriot. We didn't get any details about that. That was it, but that it was a shocking final page at the end of World of Krypton number 5. Jamal brought it to Ian's attention, which Ian had no idea about, and I really hadn't heard a whole lot about it, that there was a big controversy about Supergirl having shorts. And then when he started drawing the shorts on Supergirl, he started getting all kinds of hate mail from fans, hate emails, and he was very surprised at that, and he thought it was interesting that all the emails that he got, the hate mail was from males, of course. So that was a running joke throughout the whole panel. Somebody asked if there were plans for Huntress and Spoiler to appear in any books, and did they have any plans for them? And it was basically just a yes answer, major plans. Another fan tried to get some information about Captain Marvel, but he talked about how he saw that DC was trying to go back to the way things were a little bit, with the Wizard being Shazam again, and basically got a no comment on that. Another fan stood up and asked about the Poison Ivy Harlequin title. I'm drawing a blank on the name of that now, but they said that would not be a kid's book, that some fans were afraid it was going to be like a Batman the Animated Series take of those two characters, but it would not be. It was not a children's book, he said. There was an interesting panel. Brian Cunningham said that more people needed to be picking up Rebels, that there was a major storyline coming up with that, and he kind of gave the audience a background, as far as what was going on with Rebels and what it was about. And he said, you really need to be picking up with that Jim Starling's characters in the Strange Adventures title, that would kind of be coming to an end. And he hinted at these characters would now be appearing in Rebels. So they were all highly touting that, and that more people should be reading that. There was also some discussion about Wednesday's comics. We actually got to see it. Got to see a piece of that also, and that looked really good. People were talking about Jonah Hex, how they were really liking Jonah Hex, and they were looking forward to the movie. Wasn't a whole lot of big news, just little things here and there, but it was interesting, and I really enjoyed it. The con was great. I picked up, actually got a bunch of sketches from the guy who does Mini Marvels. I believe his name is Chris Guarino. I think that was his name. So I got a Dr. Fate sketch, a Hawkman sketch, which I know Sean would love that. A couple other ones, Kid Flash, Black Adam, and those were really good. But all in all, it was a great con. It was hot, 98 degrees. That was another thing the panel said, that they loved this section of the country with all its hot weather and fried food. So they were going on and on about that. But anyway, that was about all the news from the con. And but sorry you guys couldn't make it, and hope you can make it next year. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.
It sounded like a fun con.
Yeah, this is actually one of the cons I'd like to go to.
I agree. One of the news tidbits that actually I saw on Newsarama this week, it wasn't on. It wasn't from the con. The new Justice League of America team.
Okay.
James Robinson and Mark Bagley.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
Now, aren't they doing? Who's doing the?
James Robinson's doing the mini.
Okay, is Bagley with him on the mini or no? Okay.
No, I'm talking about the main.
The main book. They're putting
Dwayne
him on the main book too. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm sad to see Dwayne McDuffie go. We didn't really get a chance to talk about that. I'm a fan of what McDuffie was doing on Justice League. I think anytime a writer finds creative ways to work within the confines of events going on around the book, and I, as he said, that's kind of, when you're writing Justice League, that's going to be par for the course, is that there's major events going on and you've got to fit them in, and that's part of what happens. I thought he did a very nice job at fitting those events in and making them work within Justice League. JSA, out of the two books, JSA's been my favorite book, and probably because it manages to stay outside of those events, they tend to get bigger storylines going. Yeah. But I am a fan of what he was doing in Justice League. I thought he did a clever job, and so I'm kind of sad to see him go. But if you're going to James Robinson, I love James Robinson, so I'm going to be curious to see what Robinson and Bagley end up doing.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting.
Well, a couple things you touched about when you talked about Hush being one of them. I'm thinking he's got to be taking over Wayne Enterprises, right?
He's got to escape.
I mean, they're out of the manor,
over,
but he's going to be in the manor, right?
Yeah, there's got to be something, and all he's got to do is really make appearances. And
not even that, though, dude. Here's the issue. Think about it this way. What has Bruce Wayne always done to maintain the secret of Batman? He's been like this incompetent, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Hasn't really... He's done things secretly and carefully. What if you got a evil Bruce Wayne who is touting that kind of power, who doesn't have to hide anymore?
Yeah.
This guy looks just like Bruce. He
Yeah.
can take over everything.
Well,
Billionaire Bruce Wayne now is Hush.
Yeah. See, yes and no. Here's the deal with that. He still has to deal with Dick Grayson. He
Sure.
still has to deal with, well, Damian, but he's already kind of working Damian. Maybe Damian's going to think he's working Hush. I don't know. I see it kind of going where they think, well, Damian will think he's got Hush under control. In reality, Hush is calling the shots. So it's going to be a lot of the back alley dealings and the hidden, using the Wayne power, to run things, but not, say, oh no, I'm just a figurehead to protect the legacy type thing.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm wondering if it's going to be behind the scenes or if he's going to be a lot more outgoing with it. It's interesting.
I think he's going to be a behind the scenes type villain.
I love
not,
that. I've been to too many cons where they do those questions like, is that book going to be good? Is it going to be as good as you're saying it's going to be? Why even ask that? What are they going to say? Nah, you know what? I got to be honest with you guys. We've been snowing you. You shouldn't pick it up. It's not really good. But, I mean, with creative on this book and everything in there, I can't imagine it not being as hyped. I'm excited for it. I want to, Jamal Igle, first of all, I want to commend him and Sterling Gates on Supergirl.
I know.
Which, I got to be honest with you, that's up there as one of my favorite Superman
I'm
titles. That's
I'm
great.
loving Supergirl.
I love the development of that character.
Especially
and
these last couple of issues, what happens.
Oh, yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to definitely talk about that in the next episode because the Lana Lang tidbits in there and her secret identity and just her dealings with being a person who really is of two worlds at the moment and trying to... I like that she's trying to juggle it, that she definitely feels like she's of Earth as well as of New Krypton, and it's a fun book. But the artwork's fantastic. The shorts thing, come on.
People.
Now, I'll be honest with you, Michael Turner introduced this new version of Supergirl, and I loved the artwork there. But, this is a character, as she's growing older, there's nothing wrong with her costume evolving to match her aging. And, Jamal taking some choices to say, okay, this is a more mature character. She's dressing like a more mature character. It fits her transition as a character to change the costume to make it a little bit more, I'm respecting the Superman legacy with my costume. It fits the character. I've got nothing against the way, it was a lot sexier before as far as... And in ways that you can question with the age of the character, should it have been that way? I don't know. Forget any of that at the moment. The transition fits the age of the aging of the character and how she's matured. I'm a guy, and I think it's still a sexy looking costume.
Yeah, I would even go with giving her full length pants. Completely drop in shorts or a skirt. Give her full length pants. Even maybe get rid of the crop top. She could have a full bodysuit.
See, that's too much like Superman. I disagree with that because it's too much like Clark's outfit. I do like the distinction between her outfit and Clark's. So I like the way he's drawing it though, because again, it's a functional outfit. I liked in the last issue, there was one particular scene where she's standing there and you can see the boot coming a little bit off the leg.
Yeah.
Little tiny details like that I really like. But the shorts thing, I don't...
I think...
I don't know. I mean, how often do you see them as shorts, really, even? Because the skirt's over them, so, I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world. But that is a book, forgetting the shorts issue, that she has become a very interesting character.
Yeah, talk about character evolution and growth and just, her becoming a hero. You see her go from the whiny, unknown kid to, Supergirl.
The confrontation with her and Lois we're going to have to discuss. Because that's and it's really we'll have to go into it a little bit more next week because it's one I think if we got going on that one we'd keep going.
Yes,
I'm a little concerned about Jim Starlin. I love Rebel. First of all, I got to agree with the commentary from the editor, even though he's the editor on the book. Rebels is a great read.
Yeah, it is a good
enjoying
read.
So I'm glad to see those characters are going to be somewhere. I'm a little concerned, though. What does that mean? I wish there'd been more. I'm hoping that there's more with Starlin. Is he going to be on the Hawkman series that they talked about?
The whole thing with Hawkman. Did he die in Final Crisis? Did he not die in Final Crisis?
They said that we're going to find that out in Blackest Night.
Okay.
Blackest Night is going to be where that's all taken care of. But my concern right now is, what do they do? Because Starlin, I'm loving Strange Adventures. So please tell me we have Starlin somewhere. Please tell me those books are selling enough that they're interested in keeping him on something, because he's fantastic.
And I'm worried that's something that's going to be hurt by all these new titles. That people aren't picking up the Strange Adventures because of there's all this out there. Mm-hmm. They're like, I got, budgetary reasons, and it's a valid argument, but this is some good reading that, and we're not even talking about it, which, I think I wish we could.
Rebels is a book with the reveal of Starro. I'll say, for anybody that wants to see a redefining of a villain in a way where it doesn't cancel out anything that went before.
Right.
They reveal something about Starro in this book right now, and I'm just going to leave it at that at the moment, because we'll probably talk. I want to talk more about this book on an upcoming episode. Yeah. But I will say, fans of Starro and fans of characters like that, they do a major reveal for Starro of something new and unique that's entered into his concept that never, ever negates anything that's come before. Every other Starro appearance still works with what they reveal. It was very cool. So that's Gotham City Sirens is the book that he was inquiring about with Harley and Catwoman and all them, and I'm excited to see that book. I'm glad to hear. I didn't think that was going to be a animated series.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to be a kid book, and I'm glad.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Thank you so much for calling in with that, though, because I'm a big fan of when people call in with convention reports. And please, anybody, wherever you're at, any convention, big or small. It doesn't matter if it's like a heavy DC convention or not. I mean, like Heroes Con, I've heard nothing but great things about, and they had a DC Nation panel. But you don't have to just call in from a con if your con had a DC Nation panel. Don't be afraid to call in and just tell us, what the con was like, what were some of the highlights, like he did, and that was great. And if you're shooting it off the cuff like that, that's fantastic as well, because we all like to hear that. And yes, I would like the Hawkman sketch. That was great stuff. So thank you very much for thinking of us. And Jim, let's head into the show closing.
Nothing like the handy-dandy electro claw for carving through metal doors.
The handy-dandy electro claw, Jim. Jim, there's so much more we wanted to get to our next episode, but we had to cut ourselves off at some point. We were going to get more of the Superman and Green Lantern stuff, in which we'll definitely do next episode.
Well, we were on a run, and it's kind of hard to shut you up when you're talking Batman. So,
hey, I was ready to switch again, and you said, "Let's go to Batman. Let's go to Red Robin. Let's go to."
I know.
Yeah. So that was you driving that. I was ready to switch, but anyway, I'm glad that we got to talk about that. We will talk Superman and Green Lantern along with Long Halloween next week, and continue that epic discussion of that wonderful volume. I want to thank our sponsors for this episode, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com, where you can get the 4 Red Circle titles. They're $2.99 regularly, 50% off, only $1.49. That's like getting 4 for the price of 2. Jim and I had to re-record this because the first time around I said it backwards. It was just really funny. But I want to thank DCB Service for always providing such great discounts, because with the rising costs of comics, it's great that we can still get those titles. And those books, they're still being priced at the $2.99 cover price. So there are books that are still being priced at that price point. Anyway, DCBService.com every month is your source for your pre-order needs. Check out their website, though. You get a lot of great savings nowadays.
And one quick thing, if you've ordered from them and you hear us talking about a title and you didn't order it, they do have an editing function that you can go back and to a certain period, you can go back and you can edit around your order before, it's, they give you till by the end of the month to do the actual editing, but you can go in, it's very easy. Even I've been able to edit thing, and I'm an idiot when it comes to computers, so it's easy enough that even the sensei can do it. It's a great feature that they offer, and thank you very much for it, because sometimes you forget something and you're like, oh, I forgot that, let me jump on that. Hey.
Right. And you're right, I like that feature a lot. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's one other thing too is I've actually sent them emails after the fact, like where that cutoff's already been passed, and if they're able to, they've been incredibly accommodating. I've really had a lot of luck with this company, and I'm talking about before they were show sponsors. I've had a lot of luck dealing with them, and I want to thank DCBService.com for continuing to support us. Chosen by our own Mandy, a.k.a. Super Mandy from the forums and author of Life in the Gutter. Superman for Tomorrow. We're going to be kicking that off next month. That's going to be our feature when we're done with Long Halloween. We're jumping right into For Tomorrow. That's from Brian Azzarello and Jim Lee and Scott Williams. Superman 204 to 215. The Absolute's regularly $75, 47% off, only $39.75. 37% off is their normal discount. 10% off extra because we're doing this as a Raging Bullets special. And trade paperbacks, Volume 1 and Volume 2, regularly $14.99. They're doing the same thing for us, 47% off, only $7.94. It's basically like you're getting both of them for the price of one, which is really great. I want to thank InStockTrades.com and DCBService.com for continuing to support our show and our listeners with those discounts. And I want to tell everyone to check out RagingBullets.com. Listener-produced columns, Where's What Not Nows, DC release dates, show news, and more. We're always looking for submissions and participation. Please send them to ragingcontest@gmail.com. If you call into the show with a voicemail, please send me an email to that Raging Contest number as well, because I'm going to consider those now contest entries. So anybody that's called in, the reason why I'm asking you to send me the email is just provides me a way of just keeping track of who's called in. It also gives me your email address to call you if you win. The winners of our contest get to pick our new book of the month, which bi-monthly the listeners pick it. So, and I've got a new clue. Our July book is going to be chosen by us. It's the one that will be airing in August. I mentioned last time one of the main characters shares a name in common with one of TV's original Hardy Boys. Well, one of the main characters shares a name with one of characters in TV's Dukes of Hazzard. So I will leave that tidbit as well. I'm going to keep leaving clues until somebody tells me what they think our July selection is going to be. So I'll get more obvious with the clues as we go along. But
yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the original Hardy Boys, because when you first threw that out, I'm going, Matt and Jeff. Matt and Jeff. What?
Right. And I was trying to think of the name for the character. No, but definitely the original TV's Hardy Boys. And I'm talking about it shares a name with one of the actors. Okay, and this one actually shares a name with one of the characters. So, there we go. But anyway, our voicemails. We love your voicemails. It's 1-440-388-4434 or drnorge on Skype. And as you can see, we love that participation. And whether it's convention reports, you just want to rant and rave about a book like our good friend Ian did from Comic Timing. And if you're not listening to Comic Timing, check out Comic Timing. And we will see you next week.
Bye.